This conference
Is
will
that
now
correct?
be
They're not
recorded.
available.
Yes, sir. I hope to have them today or Monday at the latest.
We will postpone those until the 22nd and go over them at that time with the minutes from this meeting. Treasurer's report, May of 2022. Anybody have any questions, concerns from the board? Yes?
Seeing as how this is the first time I've actually seen it, I would ask to table it until the next meeting.
Can't hear you.
Since I haven't had the opportunity to review this, I would ask that it be
Why is that? Was it not
What?
in the board packages?
No.
It was in mine.
Let me look again.
You guys, it wasn't in your board package?
I think mine was. Yeah.
Wait a minute. I may be.
Mine.
And I did make another copy.
Yes, I did have it. I'm
I took
sorry.
all that
I did
shading
review
out.
this one. I'm sorry.
Okay, assuming
Move
we
to
all,
approve.
assuming we all looked at them, does anybody have any questions or comments on them besides myself?
I move to approve. Need a second.
Second.
Excuse me. All right, discussions. Anybody have any discussions? Besides myself. Okay. I noticed that the AP check history was not there. Is there a reason that was missing? I mean, was that intentional? We didn't have any. The AP check history is checks that we write on our own outside of what's being written by paychecks, is my understanding, and that's always part of the report. And it was not included in this report.
And we'll add that. Those are the only checks that we run in-house are the utility bill refund checks.
I understand that, but it's always been part of this report, and therefore it should be included in this report.
Okay, we will make sure it gets in there next month.
Okay, I have another question. Looking at page 28, we ran up a pretty sizable credit card bill. And my question would be, who authorizes or approves all these credit charges? I mean, this one was for $8,000, and it was a Chase Card Services. Is there anybody that ever checks these?
Yeah, we do check them and turn the receipts in, and that would have to be an ACH, an automatic deduct that we use, but let me check on that item.
So those are all verified?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just wanted to be sure. Another question, and this is a request, I guess. I noticed that we had two payments, I believe from Green Tea for $27,500. And then Westco, we paid $413,907. And I'm assuming those are for the irrigation. Is that correct? So my question would be, is anybody keeping a tally of the monies that we're spending on irrigation?
Yes, it's all going to a separate budget account.
A separate budget account, just for the irrigation. So we'll be able, when we're done, to see what we spent.
Yes, sir. And each of those invoices are billed against that account. So we have a full run every
Okay,
month.
good. That's fine. That answers that question. That's all I have, questions that I have. Anybody, public comments? Okay, Kelly.
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes.
Supervisor Hurley, President Brooks.
Yes. This pertains to anything that is not on the agenda to be discussed later. Any public comments?
Mark Camp, resident. Good morning, supervisors and district. Yeah, I have a few questions. One is today, and I know that Chris made the announcement about the minutes for the June 17th which was then foreclosed on, if I'm correct.
Correct. Yeah, that
And-
was foreclosed.
And that was what, I think Quantic is looking to develop. They also have a number of properties throughout the district here, and they're in the tune of about 1.5 million. Are we going to do anything to collect some of that?
We now have a firm that we've hired that's exclusively doing all the foreclosures.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mark.
Dave Alvig, I've got a follow-up with on what Mark had to say about this. Is Auckland a limb hanging on the NRPI tree because they're urban California? Is there any connection there that you know of?
I haven't researched it, no, sir.
Okay, well, you mentioned Phase 5 bonds. Some of these properties have got Phase 5 and Unit 16 bond owed on them too. What about the Unit 16 bond
Well,
cost?
that's actually now in litigation. So what I think we call it bond 44 is what we call it. It's not an actual bond. The bond was never issued.
Okay.
So there's litigation about the enforceability of that lien.
Okay, when did this agreement with Auckland happen? I mean, this Auckland thing just shows up on the on the delinquent list and nobody knows anything about it. Absolutely, actually.
No, I mean, I think it was been discussed in the past at board meetings.
Oh, it has?
Mhm.
Okay, I missed it.
I
Thank you.
mean, I can go back and check if you
No,
want
that's
to.
okay. Thank you.
Dave, just a quick comment. Auckland is one of the reasons the bonds will be removed when they do sell them. I mean, they own the property and they have the power to do with what they want, but this is a way that we can get them for sale, and I think they're gonna sell them.
Correct.
We're not involved there, but we'll get our money after that. But the bonds will be gone then.
Yes, name. Go, Bill.
Bill,
Two.
Bill Norcross, fun time at the fun house, I guess here. Okay, resident, and to follow up on Mike, I'm thinking of Mike too much here. On Mark Camp's description of the gas tax. As far as I'm concerned, the gas tax is not a dropped issue. And I'm going to find out how far we can go with that, because I think really the residents here are getting hosed, really. And Scott knows that, and I appreciate the work that he's done to bring it up in council meetings and things like that. But maybe we have to wait for November to have a different favorable county commission. Maybe Darnello might be able to help us a little bit.
Bill.
Pardon me.
Bill, if I may, as far as this board is concerned, it's a dead issue.
All right, I understand you say it's finished, but I tell you what, as far as the residents are concerned, it's not finished. And I'm going to find out if we have to go to the State House and get a ruling. Now, I cannot understand why Dave Shoemaker does not pursue this as far as a freebie. As Mark says, it was a free inquiry. It wouldn't cost anything. So I just want to find out why it isn't followed up.
Because the board told them not to.
Okay, that's fine. But maybe we should have a reconsideration of
That's
it.
what happened. I mean, you don't have to agree. I understand that. But that's what happened. The board decided not to pursue it and told Dave not to pursue it.
All right.
If you would
Was-
review the minutes of that meeting when we voted on it and was told what would happen in the event that we pursued it, I think it would be clear to you why we haven't done it.
yes.
It was wise to not pursue it, is that what you're saying?
Financially,
It was a financial right decision as far as this board was concerned.
Well, I don't understand why
Read the
$245,000.
minutes.
Okay. Anything else, Bill? No, you got anything else you want to cover?
Well, I completely disagree with this decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Tom Costi, resident. Could somebody please explain to me how the district collects money for bonds that were owed to a lender of the district? Is that our money when we collect it, or do we have to turn it over to whoever owned the bonds at the time? You're saying we're going to collect money from the bonds, but in the past, I don't believe that money was ours. I believe those bonds, the bond money that we collected, were owed to the owner of the property. So you say we're going to get the money. Is that for our treasury or is that for somebody else's treasury?
Okay, I mean, and I'm happy to talk to you about this after the meeting, Tom, but basically the way it works is when the bondholders took the property back, that bond merges with their title. So they no longer have the ability to enforce that bond because they now own the property. But assessments are still owed. So as part of the agreement, usually what happens is that when the bills go out, there's a bond payment that's listed and there's an assessment payment that's listed.
Mhm.
So when the district would collect that, they would collect whatever was paid. And at some point, in the past, we were taking partial payments. Now we don't take partial payments anymore. But when payments were received, we were required to remit those payments to the bondholder.
Yes.
So now that the bondholder owns the property, there's no more bond payment. There's just assessments. And we have an agreement with them that we are not going to seek to enforce or foreclose our assessments until they sell it to a third party, at which time when they sell it to a third party, we are going to collect the assessments. So basically we have a forbearance agreement, for lack of a better term, not to pursue foreclosure on those bonded payments since they took over. We no longer have to collect on them because they could have forced us to foreclose on every single one of those properties.
I understand. So in other words, we're forgiving for a time period our overdue assessments. And we
Correct.
will-
But at the same time, that protects us because we're now contractually, because like I say, after 5 years, 5 years after delinquency, they drop off the books.
Mhm.
We're now protected contractually so that we know if it takes 3-4 years for for them to turn it over to a third party, we're still going to get our assessments.
You are aware of the litigation that took place when those bonds were initially issued?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Wherein the district had tried to agree up front that we were not going to collect assessments until the properties were sold to a third party. That was litigated, and the district won that case. Or, I'm sorry, the Property Owners Association of Summit Lake won that case, and both parties, the district and the bondholder and the owner of the lots, were overruled, and those assessments had to be paid at the time that the properties were purchased. You are aware of that?
I don't know exactly which litigation you're talking about, but
The litigation that was filed by the Property Lake Association to try to stop the purchase by NRPI of those very properties that we're now, we've got an agreement with that same bondholder, although under a different name.
yeah, this wasn't a purchase. This was just
Does
a
it-
transfer, a property
To
transfer.
get clear title, in order
No,
for
they don't
that,
have clear title.
pardon me?
they don't have-
They don't have clear title?
They don't have clear title. They have, our assessments are still on it. They are not clear. So when they transfer it to a third party, that's when they're going to have.
But we agreed to not pursue those assessments until after they sell the property to a third party.
We have agreed not to foreclose.
I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Yes, ma'am. State your name and
Margaret Mayo. I'm a resident of Sun and Lake. And my concern is the Island View Restaurant. I frequent.
Sorry, can you please talk into the microphone?
That better?
Yes, ma'am. Can you
Okay.
please start over? Thank you.
Thank you.
And there are several people, we like the restaurant. We love many of the people that work there. We know the staff works hard. However, what I am hearing constantly, people now are starting to go elsewhere because of service, because of the food, and so forth. And I really hate to see and hear about that. People from the outside have come in not to return, and that's not good for any of us. So my question is this being looked into? I know last year there were issues. They don't seem to have been corrected. And my theory is that if you don't come forward and speak about it, then nobody knows.
I'd like, before we will have a conversation on that, but I'd like to hear if there are any other comments first pertaining.
Okay, thank you.
And then we'll have there'll be a speaker from Troon of Regionals here, and he'd like to have a couple of minutes to discuss it as well. And then the board will have a brief conversation.
Thank you for your time.
Anybody else like to comment on the restaurant? Huh? I just asked, does anybody else want to comment on the restaurant?
My name is John Harrison. I'm a resident here, been here for 25 years. And I do know this, that there's a lot of concern right now about the restaurant and the poor service, just poor service, poor food, and poor management. And we are losing money. We know that. We need to do something to change that. I know that there is a petition being circulated right now. I don't know how many names are on it, but something needs to be done. So I hope that it's come to the attention of the board members to look into it, see what can be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments on this? Yes.
Linda Camp, resident. I have come up here several times in the past, in the last year and a half, and complained about the restaurant. The service is terrible, which a lot of people know. The food, the quality, I don't know if it's because they've gone to a different food distributor or what, but the quality is just not there anymore. It's a shame because a lot of people used to hang out there, drink, have sandwiches, do whatever, and now they don't do it as often. We've had things where we've gone in a couple weeks ago, asked if we could have a basket of fries, and they had run out of potatoes. They run out of lemons. They run out of limes. It's just constant. And every time we come up here and ask that they do something better about it, nothing happens. I've been here for 11 years, and all it's done is just exist. You put $1.3 million into a kitchen that can't even make a decent meal. It's awful. Who wants to come in and have a dinner and pay $50, $60 by the time you've had a few drinks and a meal, and the meal is poor? We came up here on the 4th of July and we had the buffet, and it was awful. The only thing that was good were the sides, and the sides is probably something that came out of a container and poured into the dishes. The rest of it was inedible. Some people said, oh yeah, it was okay. Well, I'm sorry, my meal, Mark's meal, and the other people at our table, they said it was unacceptable, and we paid money for this. And we keep hoping that going up there, we're going to be able to continue to maybe have it change, but it never changes, and nobody does anything about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay. I think at this time, we'll go a little off schedule here. I think I'd like to have Brian from Troon. He asked for a couple of minutes to address this issue. Huh? No. We have a slideshow? No.
I made a few slides. If you want to put it on the slideshow, we can. I gave it to you guys, to look at it. Obviously, we have a crowd here. If they want to follow along, I'll try to explain slightly. I want to be on record. I'm Brian Rhodes from Troon. I know that we had a service issue for dinner 2 weeks ago on Friday. I want to apologize. It's certainly unacceptable. We have had our team here to research it. We went through it. We found out, really where the service failed. I've communicated with each board member on how we did it. It was really, kind of a service error by heart of a good service, right? We were trying to do too much than we could. So, I'm a supervisor. You guys hear every complaint. It is a thankless job. I sometimes wonder why you guys do it, because of it. But going that route, you don't always hear the good things too, because it's expected, right? And I'll point out a few things that we're facing in the industry, a few things that we've done online. You know, we're not perfect. We know that. We need to improve. There are some things that are showing that we're trending in the right way. So I asked David Evangelista, our marketing person, to run an online reputation for the last 18 months. It's really when we went through the change. And Mike, you want to file it? When we went through the change 18 months ago, you know, we were rated at 4.57. We've came down to 4.33. On the distributorship, really experienced categories product, we're at 81%. The industry benchmark is 77. On service, we're at 73%. The industry benchmark is 80. So obviously we're lacking some service issues, and we are addressing them. On value, we're at 75%, which is 14 points above, which is 6. So our consumers are seeing some value in there. Product, you know, meals, no, worth a little meals because I was at a restaurant Friday night, ordered an appetizer. It never showed up. My wife and I, a couple friends, they took it off, right? It wasn't perfect service, but I'll go back. So I asked David to just Google best restaurants in Sebring, and see what comes up. And the next slide is there. So these are the restaurants that came up. I know it's hard for the crowd to read, and it's hard for me to read, to be quite honest. I broke my glasses. But Fairmont Cafe is the industry leader, and I don't know if you've been there. I have. It's a husband and wife team. They have limited hours. It's, you know, it's like comparing apples and oranges to us. Olive Garden is the next in the area. Is, you know, they're at 4.41, and then Island View. And then behind Island View is Blue Lagoon at 406, Sunset Grill, Thai House, and Chili's is at 3.58. So we're third in the market. I mean, obviously, our goal is to be first in the market. One of the things I'll point out is in a golf facility or a country club style atmosphere, our raters are usually a little bit harder. They're a little bit more strict because you eat here more, right? You may eat at our restaurant 8-10 times a month. So if we're at 80%, it might be twice a month that we're not hitting our service levels. I won't say it's complete failure, like I know a couple happened on Friday, like 2 Fridays ago. But, you know, we're always looking to improve. So the deep dive there in the experience, you know, it rates all the restaurants that were listed by product. We were number 2. Fairmont Cafe was number 1. Blue Lagoon was number 3. If we go into service, we were number 3, following Fairmont and Olive Garden. Value, we were number 3, following Sunset Grill and Fairmont. So we are analyzing, we're taking the data. Obviously, anytime that we can look at data, we've got a pretty good snapshot. We run in-house stuff. We are always trying to improve. So in the next slide, I'll say, not all positive mentions. Oh, you're one behind, Mike. Sorry. Not all positive mentions are positive, right? In that Google thing right there, I'll read it. It says, excellent service, food, and atmosphere. Dining room was closed by an event, so wait staff offered a table on the patio. My wife and I had the area to ourselves for our anniversary. Flavor of both our meals was amazing, and the server was also amazing. So it was a good experience, but there's 2 negatives on there, closed and wait, right? Because there's 2 minutes of service time. It was a great review. There's a few others in there. Obviously, we respond to every bad review, and we want to find out why and if how we can fix it. Same goes, I know as you hear it, and some of you are very, especially the supervisors, I know 3 of you are in our restaurants all the time. We appreciate it. I know that you're going to hear it. Obviously, anything that you hear that's valid, we want you to send to Mike so he can respond. Some restaurant trends Tom put on there that we're fighting the industry. Next slide. Obviously, labor shortage and fallout is huge. We fight it. We're paying more for our labor than we ever have in the past. Our staff is inexperienced. Supply chain, I heard Mrs. Camp reference some meals are different. Sometimes we order chicken, we order one style. They don't have it. They'll ship in another style. So, we're always dealing with that. Sometimes we order vegetables, we don't get them. So there are supply chains issues out there. We've went through several vendors to try to offset some of this. And it does have an impact on our operation. We've had this, all restaurants are shaving hours due to staffing or days. They don't want to be open on days when they're not profitable. Menu prices are creeping up to offset some of the inflation. Restaurants who try to accommodate everyone usually go on a lower service scale because they're setting themselves up to fail. And we have a lot of new servers and cook in the operations that are learning still in training, and they're just not experienced enough not to make those mistakes. We'll get there, but with the mass exodus out of the hospitality industry, it's something we're fighting everywhere in the country. Sebring is no different. We are hiring line cooks that we probably wouldn't have hired 3 years ago. It's just the fact now we have to spend more time training them and moving forward. So I know we've had some issues, and we are working hard to remove them. But the market here, people aren't using it. I want them to utilize it. And obviously, Mike, the next slide. We are going to hit 1.34 million this year in revenues for just food and beverage. That's the most we've ever done here. Obviously, with COVID hit, we were down to almost under 800. We were just down to under 900,000. We creeped back up over the last 2 years to a record number. We still will grow. I think we're projecting that at 1.5 next year. We're going to have to continue on. We are addressing it. I'm more than willing to answer any questions. But I know, I've heard some things out there. We have a community of over 9,000 rooftops. We have 500 members. I'd love to say we're everything to everybody, but we're not. We have to meet the majority standards is really what we're going to try to be successful. So I'll open it up if anybody's got any questions, comments. I repeat my apology. We've set up plans B, C, D, and E. Plan B 2 weeks ago. We just didn't have enough people to execute.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions from the board for Brian? Okay, thanks, Mike. Okay, at this time, let's hear comments from the board pertaining to this subject. If anybody has any comments. Anybody?
Yes. I fully intended to come to this meeting today and notify the board that in 2 weeks, at the next board meeting, I intend to make a motion to give the 6 months, Indigo a 6-month notice that we are wanting to renegotiate not only the golf contract, but we are also going to go out and look for someone else to manage our restaurant. I've been here since 2016. Either in the fall of 2016 or the fall of 2017, I have been voicing my displeasure with the restaurant. We see some improvement and then it goes away. The only thing that's been consistent during that full time is the management group. Thus, I believe it's time that we try to find another management group that comes in here and run our restaurant. It could be through a lease agreement. There's whatever the proposals that may come in, we can look at them. I guess I would ask Indigo to go ahead and resubmit in the event that we see, if in fact this motion passes, because if we find that there is no viable people out there, then maybe we have to learn to live with what we have. I don't believe that. I think there's people out there that can do it. The petition that is going around, I do happen to have one copy of it. And it says, we, the residents of Sun Lake, are urging the Board of Supervisors to take notice of the conditions of the Island View restaurant. We are concerned with the lack of supervision and grade of meals being served over the last several months. The current condition is damaging to our area. The issues we feel the BOS needs to address are slow food service, reduced portions and quality of food, restaurant employee turnovers, tables not being cleared, no table beverage servers for golf groups, lack of servers for large groups 14 through 16 with reservations. The results of these issues are residents not eating at the restaurant, outside groups not booking reservations, and golf groups drinking in the parking lot instead of coming into the bar. A total lack of revenue for our beloved restaurant. We are strongly requesting the BOS to look into the matter and take giant steps to improve the supervision at the IMD restaurant before the winter season begins. And I know that giving a 6-month notice puts us right in the time frame where we'll be in the midst of our busiest season. But I cannot at least attempt to convince the board that I believe it's time that we at least look at what we can do to improve the operation of that restaurant. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I guess I can say a few things, but I was very much involved the last time and this is nothing personal with my friends at Indigo or that. I like them all. Matter of fact, some of them I'd like to be my sons, but this has nothing to do with their personalities and my friendship with them. But I tried a couple of years ago to do something different at the golf course and the restaurant. And it didn't, I don't know, I don't want to get into reasons why it didn't pass, but I kind of think that it was stacked against us to begin with. But I was very adamant about trying to improve. I mean, in my mind, you can't do worse. I mean, and that was my mindset on the whole thing. I just, I might be in favor of looking into somebody else, but I don't want to do what we did last time. I would be very much in favor of giving Indigo their 6 months notice, and I don't want them involved after that. I mean, I don't want to go through what we did a couple years ago, and they were kept on the list, and I knew what was going to happen when that happened, that it was just a charade we were going through. And I'm one of them that doesn't go up to the restaurant very often now, only because, I mean, how many times do I have to go up there and be disappointed? I did go 4th of July. I had a couple other times, but I just, it hurts me to say it, but our community needs a better restaurant. And, so I'd be willing to listen, But I don't want to go through something we did last time and have, I mean, there's nothing wrong with just, I don't think we could do worse. I really don't, and I don't mean that badly, but we should give them notice and we should find someone new. Simple as that. That's all I have.
I have something to say.
Huh? Michael?
Can you hear me? Over the last couple of weeks, I've had many complaints about the restaurant. So I actually started to research other golf courses and restaurants. And I know right now it's a very tough industry. I know we got to do better, Michael. I mean, you got to do better. I don't know where we start. And this has been going on for 2 years. David, I have a question. If we do take a vote and put them on notice, and we see in 3 months there's a great improvement. Michael, can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. If we see great improvement, can we rescind that notice?
The 6-month notice is a 6-month termination clause for, it's a termination for without cause, basically saying there's no, it's not working out, so we're giving you your 6-month notice.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably, once that is sent and that notice is, I mean, you can rescind it, but that rescission does not have to be accepted. So they could agree, okay, yes, once you send the termination notice, it's sent.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell them we want to rescind it, but they don't have to say, okay. They can say, no, you've rescinded it and we're not, you know, we've moved forward and we don't have to, you know, you've terminated it.
So once
and we don't have,
rescind it,
yeah, once it's
over.
rescinded, it's rescinded. They would take both parties to say, we're going to cancel the rescission or cancel the termination.
Well, I don't know where I am with this right now. I know that there are a lot of.
Let me say one more thing.
Okay.
Because if we do the 6-month termination notice, it's for everything. It's for maintenance of the golf course as well. So it's the contract we have right now is all or nothing. So based on what I'm hearing, probably what you would want to do is attempt to renegotiate the management of the golf of the restaurant and say we want to let Troon maintain the golf course, but we don't want them managing the restaurant anymore, which means a contract negotiation. And that would be up to Troon if they want to do that.
So we may be able to just do golf. We may be able to just do golf.
It's not up to you guys.
That's
It's
not
up to
up to
Troon.
us.
Mhm. You can make the offer,
Right. Okay.
but they don't have any obligation to accept it.
Well, I'm sure we're going to be back in 2 weeks. And I just, I mean, I notice a lot of people signing this petition. And I know people aren't happy, and I know they're trying. I just really don't know which way I want to turn right now. We have a lot of good people on both ends of it. I mean, for instance, Andy is the hardest worker I saw. Andy does tournaments. He's here all the time, you know, and if we lose someone like that, you know, we may lose a lot of contacts, but we have to improve this restaurant. If it doesn't improve, I know where I'm going to be. Thank you.
Beverly?
Yes. Hello? My concerns are this. If you think about leasing the restaurant or bringing in new management, Troon is very good about letting the golfers and the ladies, I mean, during season, we have 20 to 30 ladies playing Mexican Train, all kinds of card games. And Troon lets us do that because we're a country club. And a lease company is not going to let 24 tops sit there and not make any money on it. Their sole purpose is bottom line. And that happens Monday morning, we have Mahjong. Tuesday morning, we have Mahjong. Wednesday, we have triple play. Tuesday, we also have Mexican train. Wednesday, we have triple play. And I'm just talking about the ladies. For the men, when they come in from golf and sit down around 3 8-tops or 12 tops and order a 2 or 3 pitchers of beer and sit there for 2 or 3 hours discussing the ways of the world, they're able to do that. If you lease it out and bring a new company in, these are just my concerns. They're not going to let you do that because they want to turn 8 tops. They want food. They want to protect their bottom line. So that is my concern. Do we need to improve the service? Yes. Are we trying? Yes. We had bar bingo on Tuesday. Everybody had a ball. Bar poker. We had bingo the other night. Troon is truly trying, and to terminate them without giving them, I just don't think that this is the right time. And the timing is absolutely awful because the 6 months will come at the height of our season. So I don't know how you do that.
Okay, thanks. I guess before I comment, I do have a question. The motion you were going to bring to the board, was that all part? I mean, was it the restaurant that you want to see changed? Was it the golf or all of it?
It's a restaurant. I would, if Troon was in agreement, at this juncture, I was having them stay. Now, it would have to be renegotiated, as far as I'm concerned, the contract, because I think, obviously they would not have near the overhead, therefore their management cost to us should be significantly less if they're just running the golf course. So,
Okay.
I don't have an issue with them staying on the golf course at this time.
Okay, so the way I'm hearing this is the concern really at this point in time is pertaining to the restaurant. That the golf course, even though we've been through some very difficult months for no reason, through no fault of certainly the membership or the board, seems to have is correcting itself, and I think we're going to be okay going forward. So now the issue becomes the restaurant. So last time we had a let's get rid of them conversation that was pertaining mostly to golf, and this time the let's get rid of them conversation is pertaining mostly to the restaurant. I can't wait to see what happens the next time. It could be good. So the way I look at it, the restaurant has been on and off, but the last couple of years, it's absolutely been terrible. I agree with everybody who said that, who had comments on the service. The food, it's a hit and miss, but that's not acceptable either. It should not be a hit and miss. And the service has never been good. We've never had, the staff that we have, although most of us like the waitresses, et cetera, the bartenders, most of them have never been trained. Most of them don't even know what their job is, and don't know what their responsibilities is, and don't know what to do. So I would say the last 2 or 3 years of management on the restaurant has been absolutely on a scale of 1 to 10, a 12. And that's not a positive. So what I'm going to suggest is for David to recheck the contract that we have with them to see truly what our options are, report back to us at the next meeting, and then if the board still feels that they want to pursue a different avenue, we'll have conversations with Troon as to how they look at it and what they think, and tell them what we're thinking about doing with the contract and hear what they have to say. I don't think we can make any further decisions at this point in time. I think what we've seen today is people have expressed their displeasure. I think the board understands it and is somewhat in agreement with it, and I think we'll act accordingly going forward.
All right, just to make sure I understand. So you want me to review?
Wait. Now, this is our president's recommendation. We have somebody over there that made a motion or are going to make a motion, so.
He's not making a motion today.
No, he's doing it next week or next meeting. Okay.
So there's no
Okay.
motion on the table.
Okay, very good.
So yeah, so I'm going to review the contract about potential renegotiation possibilities.
If you would.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. And to confirm
What you're telling us,
the
just
results
make
of the
sure that,
6-month termination clause, so that
Yeah.
you guys can make an informed
I
decision.
want you to come back to say for sure it's all or nothing according to the way the contract is. If you want to split it up, you'll have to negotiate that with Troon. And they have, that they may have the final say-so on it. Just make
Gotcha.
sure that we're on the same page so that when Mr. Herrick, if he brings that motion to the board at the next meeting, the board can vote on it knowing what we have to do.
Understood.
Based on, the 6 month is for termination without cause.
Correct.
What's termination?
What is a
with cause?
termination for cause?
You can give a notice of a breach. You can assert a breach has occurred, and I can look into that, what constitutes a breach, because whenever there's a breach asserted, there's a curative time frame. I believe sometimes it's 10 days, sometimes it's 30 days based on what the type of breach is, but I'll have all that information for you.
Thank you.
At the board package.
Okay.
I'd like to have it before the board
Oh,
meeting so
absolutely.
we can review it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I'll make it part of I'll do a memo and make it part of the board package.
So David, I have a question. If we do that and say in 3 months, we do change restaurants, can we change in 3 months? I mean, can we do it that quick? I mean, because everybody's worried about getting into, December, January.
Yeah, well, the concern when there's a termination for cause is different than a termination without cause. So
Right.
if we give notice of a breach and that breach is not cured within the time frame, then you can terminate for cause. Mhm.
Just,
There will be no 6 months.
but
The question is what happens after that termination?
Exactly.
okay, if it was terminated, does that terminate all of the contract?
Correct. There's only one contract.
There's only one.
All right.
But you said we could, that's what I want you to verify. If we want to talk to them about maybe getting rid of their responsibility on the restaurant, but we want to continue with them in golf, that's something we would have to talk to them about at that point in time if they would be interested
Correct.
in doing that.
Correct.
Correct?
They'd have to renegotiate the contract.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, now, do keep in mind, here's a couple of things that I want the board members to think about, and I'm sure you'll hear some comments from members that you know. The first question is going to be, if we were to break a contract, are we looking for somebody to replace them through us or do a lease operation? Because they're two different worlds.
Absolutely.
And that would be a conversation that we would have to have and make a decision on. If we were to go out and try and solicit a lease company, the timing on that could be, who knows?
Exactly.
Yeah, well, it
That's
could
an
be,
issue.
and we don't know that, though.
That's,
You
I'm
know,
just saying, but
Yeah.
when we make these decisions,
It's not
that's
something-
something you have to take into consideration. If you break a contract, you give them 6 months, and you have nobody to take it over on day one, you got a problem.
Yeah.
These are issues you have to think about. You got nobody in the restaurant, you don't have a restaurant.
If we give them 6 months notice and don't have anybody to run it, shame on us.
We're talking about a lease operation.
I know.
You think I
And-
personally don't think it's that easy to get somebody to
I
come in
don't
and run
either.
an operation that's losing
I'm not-
$200,000.
Ray, I'm not gonna,
I have a question.
I don't
If
think,
we,
that's
if
not a
we,
reason not to do it.
I don't think we have a big pool in Sebring that we're gonna have people knocking on our doors. That's my concern about running a restaurant, right?
Do keep in mind also that if you have a lease operation.
Right.
You have no say-so whatsoever in that
None.
operation.
Well, you don't
So
know
if-
that.
Wait, excuse me, Michael. So if people do get upset, that's got nothing to do with us. They'll have to go to that lease operation and make their complaints with them. We're out of it.
correct.
That's,
You have
that's part of
absolutely
having a
no
lease
say.
operation. All I'm saying is, I want everybody to think about this. So that when we make a decision in 2 months, we try and make one that's halfway intelligent and not just from the seat of our pants.
Exactly. I have a question. If we give them notice like Mr. Herrick does, can they say, okay, fine, and just walk away from our restaurant? Can they do that? Contract?
Well, I mean, no, I mean, they still have, they're under contract for that 6-month period. You know, if we give them the 6-month termination, the termination without cause notice, it's 6 months. So they would continue to run in the restaurant for 6 months.
They are
They're
contractually
contractually obligated to run it for
Okay,
6
thank you.
months. And the one other thing I want everybody to think about is if we look into a notice of breach, like say a breach of, you've breached the contract because you haven't done A, B, or C, and they have that curative period, we have to have objective criteria for them to meet. Like we can't say we're giving you notice that you've breached for bad service.
Okay.
If, 30 days later, we have to be able to measure whether service has improved or not. So we can't just say, oh yeah, we're still getting complaints. We have to have some sort of objective criteria that we can base it on. Because like I said, we all saw numbers today. So that's something that would be compared to, they can say we've cured it because,
Right.
when you gave us the notice, the service level was here. And now with this new information, the service level has gone up or it hasn't declined or whatever. So
I quite frankly am not sure how the final votes would be once everybody thinks about this for a couple of weeks, but I will still like to emphasize to the Troon group or the Indigo group that it is your responsibility. It's still going to be your responsibility, and I expect that you will make every effort whatsoever to improve the service, the standards, the quality of the food, etc. This is not an excuse for you guys to lay down and do nothing. I expect you guys to continue to try to improve the restaurant, because I got to tell you, every comment that I heard here is accurate. The reason, I used to be part of the Wednesday night group. My wife and I, who stayed up at the club after golf and had dinner. There used to be like 3 or 4 tables of us. That's like 32 people. Now there's none. Nobody wants to stay. We have forced away so much business, as good as the business you may say we have, that we're doing $1.3 million or $1.4 million. That could be a hell of a lot more, because I know most of the people that I hang out with don't come in the restaurant anymore and don't eat there. We've shot ourselves in the foot. And every time we do something bad, like a couple of Fridays ago, whenever it was, I guarantee you there are people who, from that experience, won't go back to the restaurant, period. We've lost more customers. So I encourage you guys to try and get your act together. I know that times are tough. I know that this industry is suffering. It's hard to get labor. I understand all that crap. But that's not an excuse for not being able to train the people. It's not an excuse for not having the quality of food that you should. I mean, some of this should be fixed now. Would you like to make a comment? Yes. Are there public comments on this? And then we'll close it.
Thank you. Resident Mark Camp. The board has a lot of things in front of them to consider here, and everybody's discussed the pros and cons of it. What I can tell you, or not have to tell you, you're aware of, is the service has been poor. The food has been poor. It's declining. We're losing people. They're going other places. I used to, just like many of you, eat every Wednesday night, multiple nights, and I try to give them a second chance. But how many times do you have to go back and get stuck? So here's just a potential idea. Throw it out there. It might not be a big money maker, but it might be a better approach. We have never defined what that restaurant is really supposed to be. Perhaps you need to define that as more of for lack of a better word, a pub style type of a restaurant, where you don't have fine dining as they define it. That might be a solution. No, you're not going to make the money on the higher ticket items, but you'll probably pack a lot more people in there. And as far as playing cards and things of that nature in there, I agree with what Beverly said, but there are alternatives. There's another room on the other side that you could set up for that. We have this facility, it's not as convenient, but there are alternatives. I think the key is figure out what the restaurant is, and then maybe you can have a little better service and support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Halbig, I want to apologize to the commissioner. I know he's anxious to get up here and get out of here, but a little history here. I run into that years ago where we had a problem. But I'll tell you what you're going to find if you get a restaurant operator in here. You're going to lose control, for one thing. It's going to be restrictive. They're going to want to limit where you people park. Your hours of operation, they want to set that. You don't have any control over that. They don't want to shut down for tournaments or special events or card parties or any of that. So that's what you're going to run into. I'm telling you, because I went down that road and they said, whoa, too restrictive. We don't want to lose control. So I just thought I'd mention that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Resident Linda Camp, my thing with Troon is they hired Michael to come in here with no restaurant background. He just had to learn from the bottom up. And as much as I know he's tried, it still has not worked. He didn't have a good person in the kitchen. He didn't have a good person working the floor. And I think Troon needs to look at what type of program, if they're going to keep them, that Michael could go to be able to run the restaurant the way it should be run. When you bring in somebody and they have no restaurant experience, what do they expect? So, and as far as them comparing the Fairmont and some of the other places, first of all, the Goon, as much as I love going there for their wings, is a dump. The same thing now, if you go to the Fairway or the Fairmont Cafe, it's nothing but a sandwich shop. So to compare our restaurant to those two places is ridiculous. The other thing is, my recommendation to Michael would be to use Frankie as a training tool. Frankie is the only one that I have ever had that's been in that restaurant that knows what to do. He knows everybody's name. He knows what every single person drinks. Even if you have water, he brings a carafe over to you. He needs to be the person that these people go to. If you sat down 5 people, I bet they wouldn't even know how to set a table. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Good morning, Bill Norcross, the resident here again. There's a lot of negativity here as far as the restaurant. I understand that, and you know, I try to be a positive person with some ideas and suggestions to make sure that the golf operation runs well, the restaurant runs well. But you know, a lot of times these suggestions have fallen on deaf ears. Now, I've suggested many times. I said, look, we have a large parking area. Why can't we have a high school kid to pick up kids, not a valet? We don't want to say valet because that sounds like an uppity type of thing. But if you go to the hospital and you're parked way out, they give you a ride into the hospital if it's a rainy or you can't walk. So what I'm just saying is a simple thing of having a high school kid pick up people that need to be picked up is one good positive type of thing. Now, maybe it's a joke to everybody else, but if you're limping at 85 years old, it would be nice to have a ride in from 200 yards out. You understand? And it would increase the business, what, 1%? But it would at least increase the business. The other factor too is I've mentioned several times. I said you have a rotary out there. Traffic's going up and down. They don't come in. Maybe we had a sign out there that say we have a banner type of sign that said weekly specials here at the restaurant. Because people don't want to travel down to Lake Placid because of the gas expense. We have local people here. Maybe we can keep them here if you had a sign out there that said, well, we got Italian night, pizza night, Greek night, whatever you have as specials. Now, I'm trying to increase business, not decrease business. So you have to kind of look at what you're doing in your operation and maybe can review the operation to increase business. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? State your name.
It's Paula Quinn. I'm a resident. I love the restaurant myself. I love going there. I have fun when I go there. But as soon as I get service or food, I hate it. And I only go there on Wednesdays. If there's entertainment, I'll go, I'll eat at home, and then I'll go there. But there's only really two things I think that needs to be fixed. One is we need a chef that knows how to cook. He doesn't, you order a salad with chicken, you get boiled chicken on it. It should be grilled chicken. It's dry. Things are not consistent. When you get things, they're all different. So I think if we had a really good chef with a sous chef in there, we would have wonderful food and everybody would come back. The other thing that ticks me off is the service, in which it's like beating a dead horse, but they come to the table, they take your order. You never see them again until they drop your bill off, because they have a food runner that comes out and drops your food off. Food runner doesn't always bring you the mustard or the ketchup or comes back and say, is everything okay? You have to go find somebody to tell them that this is not correct. There's plenty enough staff there, I feel, for at least lunch. And they walk by, they'll see tables that have dishes and glasses and all kinds of stuff that I've been in the restaurant business my whole life. You do not walk by a table and you see something there, no matter whose table it is, you pick up those glasses, you pick up those plates, and you take them into the kitchen. You don't just leave them there. There's times where there'll be 10 tables with glasses all over it. And the other thing is that they don't come back. Like, you'll order a drink, you're out there for dinner, you order a drink, they never come back to give you another drink. You have to go to the bar and get your drink. So its service is what's hurting a lot of it, on top of the food. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we will table conversations on the restaurant until the next meeting, when I assume we'll hear a motion.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Commissioner Scott Court, are you still with us? Can you follow that?
Do you want to?
It's a tough act to follow there. Good morning, everybody. Just wanted to, and I know many of you are aware, we were successful on June 21st to get your ARPA funding request approved. So you have $561,100 in approved funding coming for your wastewater projects that you identified. So I was happy to be able to accomplish that. We had a little bump on the road, but we got it done. Also, recycling centers, to let you know, of course, I reported last time, Lake Placid has been open and is running. And Sebring and Avon Park, they started the fencing actually on Sebring this week. They will finish that up the first of next week and then move to Avon Park to complete the fencing there. There's been a few supply chain issues, like on everything else in this world today. It kind of held that up a little bit, but I talked to our county engineer this morning that is in charge of that project, and his hopes are to have Sebring and Avon Park up and running by the 1st of August, operational. So the fencing is the biggest thing. The groundwork has been done, but we will not open them until they can be fenced and closed off when they're not in operation, because people will leave garbage there if they're not. That defeats the purpose of what we're doing. Also, I see on your agenda that you're immersed in budget time. We are also. Had the first presentation of our county budget this past Tuesday. We had workshops. Wednesday night was at South Florida State College, open to the public to hear the initial budget presentation. And last night was in Lake Placid at the Government Center. Those usually aren't attended very much. I think we had 2 people in Avon Park and 4 people in Lake Placid last night. Of course, it's the initial presentation. We're still working with our constitutional officers and our department heads. The initial budget presented was at over $164 million. That will be coming down. Staff does recognize that the commission is adamant on a millage reduction this year, which I feel that we're going to accomplish. And other than that, we deal with some of the same issues that you've been talking about here this morning. We have been averaging 50 to 60 open positions at our county for several months now. So help is a very hard thing to find in today's world, and to keep and retain people also has been a tough thing. We had a salary study done, and the board just approved, we raised the minimum for all county employees, a minimum of $12 an hour. And then depending on how long you've been with the county and which department you're in, some of those people are going to see additional increases also. But it's a tough labor market right now. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot to report to you unless you have any questions from the board or the public.
Questions from the board? Questions from the public? When do you think you're going to have your updated meeting on Schumacher?
My hope is staff has been working on the list of the other property owners, and I'm going to be sending a letter to them on Schumacher Road to meet with, talk or discuss in person or over the phone with those individuals that are along Schumacher all the way up to Cortez, and also speak with the people all the way down to the end of Schumacher, all the way down to Blueberry, on their thoughts and on paving it, and also their participation in the funding to help accomplish that. So staff is continually working on that. That is on my list. So, I mean, it's something that ballpark, I hope to have an answer for this board, whether that is going to happen. I would say probably by the end of September, first part of October, on where that's at.
Okay, thank you.
Fine, very good.
Yes, sir, you have a question? Hopefully not on the gas tax.
I'm sorry. Since you brought up Schumacher Road, you made a comment that that road has to be moved 30 feet and all the utilities have to be moved. Hell, that road's been there forever. Why do you have to move that road? Well,
the short answer was it was put in the wrong place. It was located too far to the south. And that happened years and years and years ago, but the road was too far to the south. And if the road is going to be paved and what drainage requirements would be needed for stormwater and what have you, there simply is not enough right of way to the south of Schumacher Road to accomplish that. So we will not make the improvements to that road and pave that road without the proper drainage being done at the same time. So that is the challenge. And there's just not enough right of way to the south. And that wasn't thought of years ago when that road was put in. And it was put in as a shell road. It was, Sun and Lakes wasn't what it is today back then. And I guess it served its purpose to a certain point. But now with your community growing and the desire of the board and the community to pave Schumacher Road, at least down to Cortez, if you extend it out there to create another entrance into your community, a southern entrance, then the road has to be shifted to the north to do it right.
looking at the map, it looks like that encroaches in on Center Lake property. So what are you gonna do about, and there's beyond Cortez, some of these lots are way over.
Mr. Halbig, please use the microphone.
Yeah, so they can record that. They probably need to hear you.
I'm sorry. It looks to me like that if that road's moved, it's going to encroach on Center Lake property, especially beyond Cortez. So, I mean, you're not going to just move it 30 feet to Cortez and then leave it the way it is. I'm sure if it's going to be moved, it's got to be moved all at one time over. And so what about the property that it encroaches on Center Lake? What do you do with that? Do you do some sort of because some of those properties beyond Cortez are really pretty close to where the road is now.
Why don't we wait and see what they come back with?
Yeah, just a quick answer. I mean, whatever easements are needed, right of ways are needed in this project, the county has a means to either purchase easements or people volunteer easements in the process. Whether the road would go all the way down to the end of Blueberry or only to Cortez, that will be addressed. And whether, I mean, it could be stopped at Cortez if that's what we decide to do. And then the road would just kink back to where it is now, going further west from Cortez down to the end of Blueberry. So Staff and engineering has been looking at all of that, and, I'm being told that there is room there, okay? And I have not been presented with any real right-of-way or easement issues at this point.
Okay.
I would think that they've thought, couldn't you quit claim deed some of the property on the south side in order to not have to move the road?
If those property owners.
Well, I
along
don't, I
yeah,
understand
if-
that, but
if they were willing to do that,
Yeah.
yes. And that's probably, it's a possible discussion that we will have. But I know one of the property owners to the south, there was a big issue last time this was talked about before my time.
Okay.
And they lawyered up and, caused a lot of issues on that. It was that very thing, is that the road is too far to the south. And if we were to repave it and put drainages, it would encroach in on their property and give them an inability to maintain their property. So it's a complicated issue, but it's something that we've faced before and we're prepared to move forward.
Anything else for Scott?
I just wanted to, Scott, you don't have to stay up there. I just wanted to thank, I know 3-2 votes are tough, but thank you for your support on this thing, and hopefully we can bring the other two around, but.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Now, and listen, we all work together as a board, and that's how a board works. We don't always all agree on everything, but that's the meaning of a board. But I appreciate your support, and I'm glad that we're able to get that done for you.
Thanks, Scott. I promise you in the next meeting, restaurant conversation will be after your presentation. Okay, action agenda. Public hearing on stormwater facilities plan.
Sure, and I'll take this, and I'll also
Good.
apologize.
Good.
We had 3 items on the action agenda today, and items B and C, the work product wasn't finished in time to have those. I was just trying to get them up on the agenda, so we're going to be moving items B and C to the July 22nd. And that's the utility rate case presentation and the final report, and also, as Scott mentioned, the ARPA funding. We have to do subrecipient agreements through the federal government, through the county, and then the board signs off on them to facilitate that money. So those agreements will be coming forward.
Okay.
And with the public hearing today, we'll follow up from the last meeting. We got into a discussion with the draft and set the final high water mark on a borrowing issue at $6 million. And this is a public hearing and a resolution that are required by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to participate in the low interest loan program. So basically today it's to accept public comment if anyone has this on the plan. And then we will transmit the resolution and the plan forward to the DEP for their review. And then after about 45 days, they send it to their funding committee to make a recommendation. So today you're really just approving a resolution and a plan to send forward. You aren't obligating the board to borrowing any money, any terms of money. If the department approves it for funding, they'll send an agreement back for the board to look at. That would have all the terms and the payout and the amortization schedule. And at that point, the board could take action, and they could decide to borrow the total $6 million that we're looking at. They could decide to borrow less money. But again, this is just that first step in that SRF process to get you in the hopper. And regardless of whether the board decides to move forward with doing the project, whether they decide to increase assessments, how they want to do it, as a staff, we're just presenting this to you as a tool. Because as you see, when you get involved with this SRF and they want all this paperwork and resolutions, and that's just to play the game. And if you decide halfway through a budget year you wanted to do it, it would take 6 months to do it. So all we're doing is providing a tool. And if you decide to use the tool, that's great, but we just want to have it available.
We'll need a motion in a second before you guys start discussing.
No. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
I guess first we should have, it's a public, we should have the public speak first. So are there any public comments pertaining to this? Yes. Name?
Mark Camp, resident. I'm a little surprised at the approach to this. If I heard Christopher correctly, all you're doing is approving the process to go forward for the SR funding and
Yes.
nothing more than that?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, so you're going to go through the paperwork and see if you can get up to $6 million. And if you use that or don't use that, it's up to the board's decision, correct?
Up to 6, I guess.
Up to 6 million.
Up to 6.
Okay. So maybe some of this is, are you going to have a meeting at a later date to discuss this actual project?
We've already done that.
Okay, that's what
I believe this is
okay.
the public's opportunity to discuss the
I
project.
was hoping that you have a public meeting here that a lot of people might not be familiar with this program, and some of them might be, that it would have been explained a little bit about what the project is about and what we're trying to accomplish. Now, I totally agree, by the way. I'm not against this project at all. But one of the things, and I saw Polston, Drew's presentation, or the Polston engineering one. I know you guys approved whatever it was, $20,000 to get that done. Looks really good. I went out to section or unit 10, 11, 8. I know the problems out there. I actually have been out there with Michael over the years. What I'm trying to understand, you're spending $6 million, pretty high probability you're going to approve this $6 million if you get the fund. At least everything I've heard from the board, that's what they're going to do. And I just was wondering if you kind of rethink some of this as far as making it a priority number one. And what I mean by that, there's a lot of issues going on in this district. I'm not saying do away with the stormwater process, but we have some potential major issues with pipes under the ground, for an example. Our sewer pipes, some of them are cast iron, some of them are clay. They're failing on a regular basis. We have KDL come in all the time and do emergency repairs on these. And this could be a catastrophe if all of a sudden you start getting a lot of these breaks. So I'm not sure why you put the ditches and the culverts as a priority one. But anyway, that's one of the things. The second thing, I'm a little disappointed in the way this meeting was, let's say, advertised. You know, not for nothing. When 4th of July was coming up, I received email blasts, social media blasts every day. I didn't see one. Now, maybe I missed them. I didn't see one email or email blast or any kind of correspondence that this meeting was even happening. So if you're not involved in what's going on in the community here, then nobody would know about this. It was supposedly advertised in the newspaper. It might have been, I might have missed that, but traditionally in the package, when you send an agenda out, that ad is in there. So I don't know when it was advertised. Maybe somebody can get back to me on that.
Well, I'll just comment on that if I could.
Sure.
We did not communicate very well to the public. That's correct.
Yeah. I mean,
I think we realized that we made a mistake.
yeah. And then I looked at the whole report. Like I said, the one from Polson, I think is great, and a fairly good breakdown, but I see nothing in there that talks about any of the financials in terms of the financials as to the impact of the residents here. For an example, we hear that might be an assessment. It might be a utility. In the past meetings, since I listened to them, I know that there were things tossed out. Maybe we'll do 5% a year on assessments. But that was kind of just tossed out there. There's no, I didn't see any
We haven't done it
plan.
yet. We have not done that yet.
So all you're doing is approving the application for the SRF funding. Are you going to have another meeting if you decide to go forward with the $6 million project?
I assume it would become part of an action agenda, and we would sign off on it.
Correct. The
Like we
agreement
would
and
anything
also,
else.
the agreement. You
At that
also-
point in time, I guess you guys could, the public's welcome to open and say
Okay.
anything they want.
So enlighten me here for a minute.
What?
Why do you need a public hearing to apply for a $6 million grant?
It's a requirement.
Yeah, that's an SRF requirement.
It's an SRF requirement?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I was not aware of that. Thank you.
Unlike previous, I gotta be careful, unlike previous administrations, we're now doing things correctly.
No,
Well,
okay.
we're trying, and also, Mr. Camp, what I was saying is we're just approving today to send the paperwork to DEP to play the game, so to speak. But if you want to enter into that formal agreement, that also requires a public hearing and a resolution and a financial feasibility plan, which they make you turn in your last 2 years' audits and statements.
Mm-hmm.
And the first year of this program, probably 7 to 9 months would be design, permitting, if we need any additional rights of way, those project plans.
Mhm.
So you really aren't getting into that impact of the loan till the second year. And we put money in the budget for the design and permitting for next year, but that's immediately reimbursed through the loan. And on the construction side, it's 2 years till you pay it back. So you probably are not going to see any impact till not next year, but the year after, where you're doing the principal.
We probably won't be
interest.
paying on any loans until 27, 28.
Oh, I understand that because I thought the idea was push it out almost 4 or 5 years to collect X amount of dollars a year. At least that was.
No. We're not doing it because of accumulating the money. That's when realistically, if we start the process, that's when the loan payments would start.
Yeah, and plus I know that it's going to take time for the design and
Well,
get people in here.
that's what he's referring to. That 175,000 is for the design and permits and all that stuff.
So just out of curiosity, as a side note, there were things tossed out there about increasing the assessments to start to build up kind of a kitty.
Yes.
Is that appropriate by saying that?
Yes.
Okay. So you're putting the ball in something in action right now for a future loan. Is that not true?
No, for future payment of a loan that we're going to obligate ourselves to now. When we sign that agreement, we're committing ourselves to a $6 million loan that will be payable starting in the year 27.
Okay, then I think, okay. I
Right?
think there's more to it than this. I think you need to kind of explain how, when you're approved for the SRF loan,
Yeah.
how you intend the community to pay
Well,
for this loan.
if you wait till we get to the budget part of this meeting, you'll have your answers.
Well, on top of that, the financials is included in this.
It's in the.
When we come to when we approve the loan, if we've approved the 6 million, there'll be a financial in there on how, for the past 2 years, and then it also requires us to say how we are going to pay for it.
And I understand that, thank you, but that's not in here now.
No,
That's
it's not.
not in the package.
No, it's not.
So you're approving potentially a $6 million project without the supporting information. I want to know what the impact is to me and the community.
I can tell you when we get to the budget. You want me to, I'm not going to do it now. It's in the budget. We have allocated money to cover not only the drainage program, but a water plant. It's all there.
Yeah, I have seen that.
Well, they're both there. They're both in the same thing.
So you're not going to explain to the community when they approve this $6 million SRF funding up front, you're going to wait until after you guys approve this to go forward, and then you're going to say, oh, by the way, we're going to pay by this for 5% or 6% or 4%, whatever it is. I did a linear calculation, and all you have to do is go up 5% a year for 5 years, and you'll accumulate somewhere in the area of about $950,000.
Right.
And then you could put that in a kitty. So I understand that part of it. I'm just trying to understand what you guys have in your mind as far as this particular project and how you're going to pay for it. And you're telling me I have to wait until the.
No, I mean, you did the math, so you figured it out. That's all we did.
No,
I mean,
I'm just saying.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
I'm asking, part of this approval is contingent upon getting 5% more in assessments every year.
Yes.
Is that a true statement?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so you're going to go up on the assessments 5% a year to start to fund this. I get it.
Right.
Okay. I would have thought you would have presented that when you said we're going for SRF funding, and the way we're going to pay for this loan is we're going to charge you 5% a year on assessments and go forward from there. Things like, sounds minuscule to you, but if you're on the golf course, you're going to charge 5% on the assessment of the property, or are you going to do 5% on the golf course lot.
We're
Small,
going to take assessments and raise them 5%.
so what you're
That's
doing.
what's on the table.
Okay, so you're doing a drainage and stormwater program, and you're charging people that live on the golf course additional monies, even though it has nothing to do with drainage.
We're going to raise the assessments 5%. That's what's on the table.
Okay, so once again, you're saying.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah, you're charging people on the golf course more money, is all I'm saying. That's all, I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that's what you're saying, okay, I agree.
You're charging people more, and it has nothing to do with the drainage part of it. The other assessments do.
The drainage is for the district, is it not?
The drainage is for the district, and it's based on the assessments for the property, the houses, not the lots based on the golf course. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
It's neither here nor there. You're going to do what you want to do, but, I would have thought that this would have been a presentation to say, this is our project, this is what we're going to do, and.
We haven't put it in the budget yet, so we haven't agreed to anything yet. As far as us changing the assessments, it's not in, we've discussed it, but it's not in the budget.
Okay. So you're approving a $6 million loan.
We're not
prior to
approving a
getting-
$6 million loan. We're approving to submit for a $6 million loan.
Right.
That's all we're doing.
What's the probability of getting that loan?
Very good.
Very high, isn't it? Based on our financials, wouldn't you say pretty good?
Right now, there's a lot of money, federal money that's come through the state SRF program.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless there's a lot of competing interests above us, and a couple of years ago, the interest rate for that program for wastewater went to 0%.
Yeah, I heard you say that, something like that, zero.
Laurel borrowed $100 million, so they kind of ran out of money that year, but they're back flush.
Okay, and once again, I thank you all, because I was under a total misunderstanding. I saw things that said there was going to be financials in here. I never saw them, because it says it's coming on a separate cover letter. So I consider the package really, really incomplete. I would have saved myself and you guys a lot of trouble by just saying, okay.
And Mr. Camp, I appreciate your comments too about the underground piping and utilities. We're going on a similar track right now with the wastewater and the water side with this SRF program, and waiting for the facilities plan to come back from Rural Water Association. The funding from that, of course, the principal and interest for a loan is included in our draft rate case that we're looking at bringing forward at the next meeting.
Oh, the one that was scheduled for.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And the money to finance implementation of a new meter program is also in that rate. And the rate increases are very low, to cover that, but all that financials will be coming out at the next meeting in the rate case. And when we did approve these facility plans, we did have a complete flow chart of the whole SRF process in there, what you have to do when you have to do it, but I'll share that with you and we'll put it online.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm sorry. I was under a misunderstanding as what this was about then. I don't know if it was communicated. I just misunderstood then. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a rush.
Bill Norcross, resident. I'm just trying to understand the $6 million loan. That is for infrastructure projects alone. Things that Drew was working up on posts, and to try to keep it under $6 million, maybe $5 million. Is that the idea?
No, it is a $6 million loan. It is part of the package, and it is spelled out exactly what it is.
Well, I understood from the last meeting that he was checking the vendors for prices and everything to try to keep it down. So
that was 2 meetings ago. Last meeting, it was changed to the $6 million that it's at.
Well, listen, I really appreciate all the efforts to get grant money, whether it's Ariel or Chris Shoemaker, doing a lot of research to get that. Even though it's 50% any kind of grant money, but at least it's something. And I really appreciate it as a resident, the research and the work done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Halbig, resident. In the packet was this implementation and compliance sheet, is that something that has to be done later, or is that, because there's some inference, there's some, for instance,
What page are you
I
on?
thought,
David?
well, there's only two pieces on this compliance sheet, okay? There's a blank where it says, calls about a public hearing, and there's a blank there. I would assume that's today's date that's going to be put in there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it mentions after advertising, which everybody has a problem finding out where the advertising was. But you go down deeper into the document in 6.3, and this is what I thought we were going to have at this meeting. It calls out an Appendix E, and Appendix E is the financial impact on the residents of the district. So I thought that was going to be presented at this meeting so that the residents have a chance to talk about that as well. So that's not going to happen. That's not going to be, in other words, there wasn't anything in the packet that showed any kind of a payment
No, sir.
situation.
No, sir, that'll all come.
And that'll come later. That'll come later.
Yes, sir. In the application process for the loan, all those details are spelled out, but we do have to turn in a financial feasibility report. And that's basically 2 years audits, financial statements, where you have to be able to demonstrate you can make the payment. And unfortunately, we're just finishing that up because we just got our audit from last year, last week. So
Okay,
we're
but
filling in the blanks.
if I look at Appendix E in this documents that we got, that's the flood insurance rate map. That is not, doesn't show anything close to what this document says. Now, I've also got a question. You know, always before, when you had a big program like this, the properties that were benefited, this has all the earmarks for a special assessment as far as I'm concerned. I mean, because what you're doing, you're going to borrow all this money, you're going to ask people who've been paying bonds and for years and years. For instance, I'll use an example like a Greg Long that just paid $16,000 for his Unit 16 improvement, and now he's going to have to pay majority of a big portion of this because the properties that are benefited aren't going to be paying very much at all, and the properties are only a small subset of this district. You got 3 units that basically $4.6 million is designated for Unit 8, 10, and 11. That's 93% of the total construction cost. And those people are going to get the benefit. We got water flowing. I don't remember ever having a surface water problem in any home in this district. Okay? The water's flowing. If you speed it up, what's going to happen on the east side of Balboa? I mean, is it going to back up on us? I don't know. I drove over in that area a week ago, well, this past Saturday after we had a terrible rainstorm on Friday, and I saw more water in the swale across the street from my house than I saw back in there at all. And so $6 million is a hell of a lot of ditch cleaning. You know, I don't know. And I asked Drew before the meeting, he had section 15 that shows activity. There's no cost in there for that. David, doesn't this look like something that should be a special assessment for the benefit of the people getting a benefit? I don't think it's a general benefit to this whole district to do this project and have the people in this district pay the price when they're not getting the benefit. And I surely don't want this to be benefiting some developer or some builder to keep him from having to pay for it to clean that up over there and get a free ride on it. That's my fear, and that's what I kind of smell a little bit. I don't know if anybody's had any discussions with any builder or any developer over there that's bought this property. I asked our general manager, who owns the majority of the property. He was unable to answer that question. So
If you're asking me if it's possible to do a special assessment, it's always possible to do a special assessment for
I
people
know
that,
it is.
the determination of who's most benefited. So that's, yes, it's absolutely possible. So yeah, that's a decision for the board as to whether or not they want to look into a special assessment or raising the, general assessment.
have they looked at it since it's only a subset of this district? All the money is going to be spent over there. We're all high and dry.
Well, and
we have been for years.
But not to be contrary, but at the same time, this is being done because it hasn't been done in the past, and so all the money that's been collected in the past on those assessments has been used to benefit the more populated areas. So, correct.
This is a general obligation, $6 million, then we're talking about borrowing another 10 million. A lot of you guys don't remember when this district was broke. I think there's probably one person on this board that remembers when the district was broke. It's not a good place to be. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Sir, thank you. And with the stormwater system, the system serves the entire district and everybody here. And if some of those stormwater pipes are collapsing or the ditches aren't cleaned in that central unit, then the water doesn't get back to the west side of the district where it eventually ends up. And where we also have issues with is culverts under roads and head walls. The culverts are rusting out and the soil above it is going into the pipe, filling it up, and now you have a sinkhole or an opportunity for a traffic accident because you have a depression in the road. So it's really the infrastructure back there, which the district is the operation and maintenance entity according to the Water Management District permit. We're responsible to operate and maintain that. So that's really what this is addressing things that haven't been done in 20 years, and the infrastructure is collapsing.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Good morning. You're all doing a great job. I appreciate it. You everybody working so hard. Once the process put in to get the loan, how long does it take for the government to reply?
Mr. Edlow, will you state your name, please?
Robert Edlow.
We should hear something back in September.
Okay. Are there any other future projects that you see that we needed in the district at this time, next year or the year after?
Well, the big things is we're looking at the stormwater and then the utility system, which is the major infrastructure. And of course, we always have projects going depending on what's working and what isn't.
Okay.
But right now, the majority of our efforts are focused at the infrastructure rehabilitation and looking at SRF funding for the utility and the stormwater side of the operations. And obviously, we still have ongoing maintenance, with cutting the grass and maintaining pipes that happens year in, year out, and road paving.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good day.
The two big nuts that we're going to discuss. Okay. I was going to say the two big things that we're discussing is the $6 million for this project and approximately $10 million for the water plant. We don't know if that's the right number or not. We have not gotten the number back, and we will not see that probably until the end of July. We've seen the report has been given to Chris, and he's looked at it, and now it's being priced out. And until it comes back, we have no clue. We're guessing it's around 10 million. Could be more, could be less. Any other public comments? Back to any board comments on this project? Do we need a vote for this?
Yes.
That's right. And the motion would be to approve the stormwater facilities plan developed by Polston Engineering dated June 8th, 2022, and approve the resolution which approves the plan and transmits it to the FDEP State Revolving Loan Fund Program.
Move to approve.
We already did that.
Oh, we did that?
We just don't have to vote.
This is the vote.
It was so long.
Supervisor Hurley.
Yes.
Into the microphone, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Gilpin,
Yes.
President Brooks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've, B and C utility rate case and the ARPA agreements will be pushed to 7/22. So now we come down, add-on items, petitions and communications, staff reports, golf.
Good morning, Supervisors. Mike Lemire, Golf Course General Manager. At the last board meeting, we had a discussion about Tanglewood. It was requested that I send you guys our agreement with them. So on the agenda today was the proposed agreement for this next fiscal year. I'm not sure what we're looking to really approve here. Normally, this is not something that comes in front of the board or is put in a public meeting as far as group or league rates, but so I'll just ask the board if they have any questions on the proposed
Well,
rate sheet.
are there any questions on this, are you talking about the agreement sheet?
Yeah.
On the, I guess it's a contract, any questions on that? Yeah.
Right. It's not normally something that we bring in front of the board for approval. It's just, it was something that was requested and then it got put on the agenda.
You guys got any questions on that? Because I certainly do. I mean, it's not worth the paper it's printed on. There's no requirements whatsoever from Tanglewood to get these rates. What do they have to do? Just show up? 3 or 4 guys?
So
Do
that
we have a minimum?
we do
number?
not, we do not have a minimum for how many players they have. I mean, we can give you all the stats of how many people they actually bring.
I already figured it out. Not very much. $46,000 according to your number. If you
Right.
divide that up, you get maybe 8 or 9 players on the average throughout the year.
Depending on how many times you divide it up, but I'll just let you know that the majority of that, so if you actually do the math from December through April, it's 3/4 of that. So they're bringing a ton. In fact, Thursdays, we actually limit them.
My personal opinion is, if I'm going to give Tanglewood a discount, I want a commitment from Tanglewood on how many players they're going to have to get that discount. And if they don't do that, then they don't get the discount.
We could do it that way.
Well, isn't that the way anybody would do it?
Technically, yes or no, but let me be clear that they don't have a problem bringing people. There's times that we actually limit them to how many they actually bring.
But this agreement doesn't say, all it says is, here's your pricing. We appreciate your business. We'll see you. Well, that's not an agreement. Is it? You think that's an agreement?
That is an agreement, and I just want to remind you that, you know, when the Tanglewood group comes, it is off-peak times that
They come
they're actually
Tuesday and Thursday morning.
Tuesday and Thursday morning at
Well, that's not
8:30.
off-peak.
I don't know if you remember the conversation we had before. The reason why we went to 8:30 shotguns is because we couldn't sell the 8 o'clock shotguns.
All I'm saying, I'm one vote.
Gotcha.
If you can't get a commitment of number of players, I can't give you a vote to give Tanglewood a discount. I don't know how much clearer I could, that's one vote. Anybody else want to, you guys think I'm wrong? You guys want to jump in?
A group rate, from what I understand, group rates is always given for a given number, a minimum given number. That's how I understood it. And I know that's last I heard from the Bluff people is they have to have so many go, or any of these retirement villages that go someplace, there's a minimum requirement in order to get that lower price.
Right, and we do have set numbers that they bring every week that we negotiate, just like we do with all the member groups. They are not having an issue bringing people. Like I said, there's more times than not, we're actually capping them.
Then there shouldn't be any reason why you couldn't put this rate requires a minimum of X.
Based on time of year, then, I mean, we can definitely do that. You know, we've had.
They want you're giving them a 30% discount off of the residence rate.
Well, they are residents as well.
During the months of December through April.
Right.
Well, for them to qualify for that, they've got to give us, in my opinion, again, they should give us a number of how many people they're going to commit to. I mean, if it's 20, why give them that kind of discount? I only give them 20% discount.
It's that it is not, well, 20 is not their exact number, but if you want us to break that down, I'll be happy to do that. But like I said, I don't feel that this should be an open discussion in a public meeting. I mean, I'd be happy to discuss this with you guys, off the record. I just think,
Why?
and here's the reason why, because this, when we do group rates for them and or other people, other golf, this is public. That means all the other golf courses know what we're doing. That means all the other groups know what we're doing. And I don't feel that that's something that should be discussed in public. I'm happy to be transparent with the board as far as that goes, but I think we should do it off the record.
I appreciate that. And I'm not going to change my way.
That's fine. I'll sit down, I'll go with Andy, we'll sit down with those.
No,
with
that's
them
just
and-
me. You guys like it the way it is?
What number, all right, what number would you use that Michael's got us, give them the discount to? 20, 30, 40? I mean, what if they walk in with, we give them a number of 20 and they walk in with 18? Do we give them the discount? I mean,
Who's going to pay for that?
yeah, I mean, see, I don't understand.
And it would have to be you would have to give them a different number for the
Right. I don't-
season, different number for.
Exactly. And we could do it based on time of year and
You would have to.
That's fine.
here's the thing is we don't want to lose their business. They're residents of Summer Lake. They know, they listen to these meetings. They don't, this is making them not feel very welcome, which is troubling. And they are residents
Why is
of
that
your
troubling? I'm
district
sorry,
too.
I have to ask, why is that troubling? They're members of Sun and Lake.
Well,
They're
and some of
getting an
them have,
extra discount, and you're worried about hurting their feelings?
well, I think we'd want to make them feel welcome to come here. There's been several of them that have joined the club because they feel welcome here. And I don't think we want to keep discouraging that.
Mike, I guess I would not vote for this, even though I agree with Ray. But in my opinion, that's not something I think we should get involved in. But at the
agree
end,
as well.
but the end of the game is, if you're not doing the money and so on and so forth, it is my job to say
Exactly.
you're here or you're gone. It's the same way in the kitchen. I mean,
Exactly.
you got to run it. We got to tell you you're gone or you're here.
Exactly.
That's my opinion.
And, we had the discussion about, trying to fill our 8 o'clock shotguns in the past, and the proof is in the pudding. We are doing our job, and that's why we're finding more revenue, and that's why things are getting better. So, I mean, that is our job, and we're doing it.
One of the things that does, you talk about them being SNL residents, but yet we charge SNL residents outside of Tanglewood a higher price.
Right.
So,
Right. We also charge the Tanglewood folks, if they come out on any other given time, they pay the same rate as any other resident in the district.
Right,
And-
but that's my whole point, Mike. If you're giving them a special deal,
Right.
what commitment are you getting back from them? You're telling me nothing. You're
No,
just giving them the price.
I understand, and that's in this proposal, and we can come back to you with that if you want to see it. But I would propose I will send it to you outside of a meeting.
So Ray, are you asking Michael to give us a number of say 20, and if they don't make the 20, they don't get the rate?
It's an honor system. I want them to commit to a number of people that they're playing.
I agree with you, Ray. I agree with that. And I think we should, but we got to
And
give him a
keep it
number.
secret? This is not a game.
Right, it shouldn't be a secret. And we
Can I
should give
chime
him
in,
a
guys?
number.
What?
Can I chime in?
Sure.
Andy Kessling, head golf professional. So the reason Tanglewood and some of these groups are important is because we've got 1 p.m. shotgun starts, which we do for our large member groups. So that makes it harder for us to fill up the 8:30 shotgun. So some business is better than no business in those when we've got open slots on the tee sheet. So that's why we give out group rates in those non-peak times.
I hate to chime in here, but my concern is this, is we are obligated to advertise our rates. Like I say, we approve golf rates every year. And this, if I'm hearing this correctly, this is an unadvertised rate.
Well, the golf rates that we approved, though, are the maximums that can be charged, not the minimums.
True.
If that matters, I don't know. You know, it's not that hard. Just go back, see how many players you got. And if your minimum's 25, come back and say, my minimum's 25.
Yeah.
What's the big deal? This is not a
Yeah,
big
no,
deal. I just don't want to have you guys signing an agreement that there's no commitment from Tanglewood on.
No, I agree. And I agree, Drew. I'll do that. I will send it to you.
And then you
For
make
sure.
sure that they live by it.
Absolutely.
Anything else on Tanglewood? What else you got?
I mean, that was the only thing on the agenda for staff reports. Typically, our staff reports are the second meeting of the month, so.
Oh, so that, you got nothing else on, I mean, just a general golf report. How are we coming with the irrigation? Are we on schedule?
Yeah, so Jimmy can speak to that, but GT's on site.
I see a lot of stuff on the golf course.
Right, he can speak to it.
Good morning, Jimmy Murphy, Golf Course Superintendent. So today, they're going to start fusing pipe. We'll start I don't want it strung out yet, but Monday, we'll start digging and start putting in the irrigation. We are starting at hole 5. Gotten with Joey, we're getting locates on hole 5. We've started marking all of our valves as far as the existing irrigation. So they're going to work today and tomorrow just on fusing pipes, so they'll be between holes 1 and 9. The only thing that in my written report, all the pipe is here now. The only thing that we're waiting on is the satellites, and they're waiting on the computer boards.
Okay. Hey, you've got on Deer Run, you've got some really, what I would call not very good tee boxes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You're aware of them on
Yeah.
12, 17, and 8, I think?
Yes, sir. We sprayed out the doveweed and the weeds that were on them. And so getting back to when we overseed, if you overseed it, you can't treat it. So the weeds that germinated or was there last year were still there. So we sprayed them out. So now we'll keep growing them in.
Do we think we're okay by the fall?
Well, and we've talked, I'm going to get some more sod and I'm going to patch any of the bad areas that are on the tees.
Do you ever use seed?
Not for Bermuda, Mr. Herrick. You got to sprig it in. But I'm going to get sod and I'm going to patch them all. Even the ones on Turtle, I'll patch them all within the next couple of weeks.
Okay. There are a couple of other things, if I may, pertaining to the golf course. On 14, and I asked this years ago, I think, when God, I don't even know how long ago this was. On 14, the entrance to the cart path by the green is just,
Which course, sir?
I'm sorry, on Turtle.
Turtle, okay.
The entrance, the cart entrance by the green, where that big kind of circle is with the whatever's in it.
The cocaine.
It's got to be, I mean, if you can, take a look at it.
You're talking about Deer then, the one up on the hill.
No, I'm talking about 14, the par 5.
You got a wash out there because of that one sprinkler head, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about that.
Is that going to be altered when you do that? Oh, wait a minute. No, we're on Turtle.
It's on Turtle.
Never mind.
It's Turtle 14 by the green. Where the gravel, the gravel in front of the cart path.
The
where you take
cocaine.
The cart path to 15.
I'd like to take a lot of the areas out that have the cocaine around the cart.
Just take a look at that
Yes,
for me
sir.
and let me know what you think.
Because
The other thing,
14 Deer's the same way. I'd like to put sod back up on the hill to stop the erosion of the coquina down into the fairway.
and then the other thing I want to just bring up to you is somebody said that the bridge between, now I'm on Deer, the bridge between 5 and 6. It's very bumpy. If there's a way to shave it down a little bit to make the entrance onto the bridge.
Turtle again.
No,
Deer.
It is on Deer and it's on Turtle also.
It's on Turtle.
Both of them.
The bridges really need to be somehow.
So we complained the one down, I know last year when we did the board, it's on hole 5 and going to 6T there, the boards are a little higher. I'll see if I can get Chewy to plane those down a little bit more.
Yeah.
The other one, I think we probably just need to look at putting a transition in between the bridge and the sidewalk. So I'll see if I can find something. Might be able to put a piece of metal or something, turn the other way.
If you could just take a look
some
at it, I'd
coping.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And then the last thing, This is from somebody else. I get all these emails now. Somebody was very complimentary of the height of the grass the other day on the golf course because they figured you hadn't mowed in the day because of the rain, and the grass actually was nice and plush. The challenge is most of the golfers think that the height of the fairways is too low. I know you guys don't agree with that. I know you don't, but I would ask you.
I'm not saying I don't. I mean, I'll do whatever you want to do.
Traditionally speaking, there's always been something that you guys didn't want to do it. I would really like for you to look at it and maybe think about raising it just a little bit.
What's the disadvantage of doing that?
Well, I mean, people that to hit a golf ball the correct way, and I'm not saying nobody doesn't hit it the right way. I think anybody that hits the golf ball the correct way likes to pinch the ball against the turf. So when you get longer fairways and get grass in between your club and your ball, you get what's called a flyer lie. Typically, a player that comes, so if you bring your tours, granted, we could take them back down when those tours come, but I don't want them to look scalped either. So we're cutting them.
Remember who you're catering to, old people who don't hit the ball.
Yes, sir.
We don't hit the ball first anyway. I mean, we don't.
Right now, we're almost at 3/4 of an inch.
Look at it and let me know. I really like to see it raised a little bit, and so would a lot of other people. The worst thing can happen is you cut it back down again.
I got you. I mean, I just don't.
It was real good right after your beer cut.
Yes, sir.
Because it made it stand up.
Yep.
Anything else for the golf guys?
Speaking about bridges, though, somebody Tuesday night did hit our bridge on 14 on Turtle. I will get that fixed. I put cones up there this morning. They caught the edge of the bridge.
That's because they were out there.
I hope in your own cart, not ours.
Hey, by the way, do we have, speaking of that, those guys on Tuesday night were out there during that thunder and lightning, and I assume there was some rain someplace. We're not liable if they get, okay.
No, we
I couldn't believe those guys were out there. They're just.
Andy did the announcement and said that there were some people that chose to go home and told them that if they wanted to play, it was at their own risk. I know it was a position match that night. Some of them wanted to get it in. Some of them were going to be out of town next week and stuff, but he did tell them that they played at their own risk. And some people did go home before we teed off.
It was unbelievable. We were watching the lightning and watching the guys golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, anything else for these guys? Any public comments for these guys? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry? Oh, yes.
Bill Norcross, resident. There's several items that were brought up. I think that issue on the 14th hole has been brought up at least 5 years ago. And something can be done. I mean, it's a simple thing. 14th on the Deer, where you have up by the green, there's a runoff. All that stuff is, I mean, it looks terrible. I mean, people playing it for the first time, I mean, it's just something easy. I really appreciate it being brought up. You acknowledge it, and I hope you do fix it. It really would improve the aesthetic value of the course. Thank you.
So Jimmy, do you want me to show you the email that Bill sent me that I just went over with you? No. Okay. General Counsel.
Okay, Mr. Hurley and Joey and I had a meeting with Cliff Rhodes about the Avanti lawsuit for the water meters. We got some good information, and there's also, it looks like there's a potential, Mr. Rhodes had received a phone call from someone on the Avanti side, and so there may be a potential settlement meeting, which means we'll have to do a shade meeting if that ends up coming, going forward. But he sent a response basically as the quote that we got, or the quotes that we got were in the ballpark of 1.8 million for a complete redo of the system. And it's his opinion that since the system has effectively completely failed, that we're within our rights to ask for that full 1.8 million as a potential settlement number. So that's probably where we'll be starting. So far cry from the original 300,000 that we were discussing. So if we end up scheduling a shade meeting, obviously we'll let all you guys know about how we're going to do that.
Okay.
The only other, go ahead. The only other thing I've got is the Turn 2 sign. Turn 2 Brewery there inside Tanglewood is wanting to put up a sign there at the entrance to Tanglewood. We found out through a series of research that the district actually owns that right of way. So we are the first line of approval for for that signage. Drew got some information regarding like FDOT requirements on sight lines and stuff, and just wanted to let the board know, we don't bring, permit approvals to you guys, and we don't have a permit for putting in signage there, but before they can go to the county or engineering or any of those people, they have to get our approval first. So I just wanted to make the board aware that that's something that's been brought to the attention, and unless there's any objection to a sign going up there, and unless or if you want that, anything like that to be brought to the board's approval, in the future, I can't think of a reason that you guys have to do it.
I don't think it needs to go to the board, but I think that I want Chris to be involved with approving what they're
Oh,
going to put up.
absolutely. Yeah, it'll be done. There'll be a process for district staff to do it, but I just wanted the board to make sure that the board doesn't want to be involved in that, because we've got no requirement that you be involved.
I don't think we need to be involved. You guys think we do?
I agree.
I think just an FYI, if it happens again, is fine.
Yeah, and if, like I say, and if we for any reason decide to deny an approval request, they would have the opportunity to then come to the board and say, hey, we've been denied by staff and we'd like the board to reconsider. So.
Okay.
Unless there's questions, that's all I've got.
Any questions for David from the board? Public comment or public questions? Or thank you. General counsel or district.
Sure. I have a few things. I'm going to start by saying that the labor market seems to have improved, at least on our side. We had months where we didn't get qualified applicants for openings, and we started getting some really solid resumes in. And I wanted to introduce our new finance and accounting person that's taking Amanda's place, and ask her just to get up and say hello. But Sina.
Welcome.
Welcome.
My name is Sina Campbell, and I was born and raised in Sebring. Went away for quite some time, about 20-something years, and came back. I do live out in Spring Lake, another community, but I thoroughly enjoyed meeting everyone out here and being part of Sebring again, and seeing what I can do to help Sun and Lake improvement, the district. As when I worked previously, I was the director of finance out at the racetrack before NASCAR took over, and before I lived half the year in Vancouver, doing acquisitions and dispositions of resorts all over the US and in Canada. So everything you speak of today, I completely understand how this is more like run like a resort, because your customer is actually your resident here. Same perspective. If you keep your residents happy, you keep them staying inside your community continues to grow and prosper. If your customers are not happy, like you were talking about your restaurant, they will fail. Because right now, your customer is your resident. That is what's making your world spin around and Sun and Lake stay Sun and Lake.
Right.
But I appreciate the opportunity for the job. And if you do have any questions for me, can you hold those off for at least a month?
Okay.
And let me get this all figured out.
Thank you. We wish you the best of luck.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
I'll have to give a shout out to Amanda, because she has come in a couple times, and we were with her for a few hours the other evening to help train. And Amanda's coming back tomorrow morning for about 4 hours. And we're going to sit down and do some training, because when you start getting into the bonds and assessments and coming up, I told her it's like we're running 3 companies. It's not just the district, but we have some other companies like a utility operation and bonds that we have. But glad to have her, and with her resort experience and background, it's a big help.
Very good.
That's a much needed hole filled.
And we also had a vacant spot open, as like a financial assistant in her office, and we hired a very capable young woman that'll be starting next week. And then we have two interviews with some really solid candidates for the front desk job next week also. So we should be able to get staffed up. Put a note in here that we're going to be using our community center once again for precinct 4 for the elections. It causes a little setup time, half a day before and after, and then during the day of elections. So we won't be able to have any yoga classes or anything in here, but, and we'll get that announcement out and up on the website and also posted here so that people are aware the meeting room won't be open. Hopefully, next item, hailstorm damage claim. The next thing I'm waiting for from them, contacted them yesterday, is the actual dollar amounts that they're going to pay out for these claims.
When did they think they'd have that?
I'm hoping any day. He told me they're doing the finals on it and sending it over, and then we just have to decide if we're going to RFP all the work as one, or do it item by item depending on the dollar amount. And I'll bring that to the board, but hopefully we'll have it soon.
Okay.
And they're done with the business loss investigation, and we're waiting to hear back from them on that.
Have we adjusted the insurance policies?
The only thing we have to do with the insurance policy is we had a dozen ancillary buildings that weren't on our policy, and we'll be adding them, but we won't get the coverage.
So we haven't done that yet.
No, but we will.
Let's make, you never know with storms. The quicker the better to make sure we avoid any future problems.
Also mentioned on here, the wastewater facilities plan. I'm pushing Florida Rural Water, and hopefully we'll get that back from them, the final, so we can move through with that process and bring it to the board and have a public hearing. Kitchen AC unit continues. We should have the formal replacement unit in about 4 or 5 weeks, and we were looking at putting a temporary unit up there, but they've made some changes to the piping up top that's blowing a little bit of cold air in there now. But
I know we paid that whole thing. We paid for the whole machine. We didn't put a deposit down.
half of it.
No, it's in the,
Oh yeah, there's 2 checks. We're holding one we gave to them for
there was a check cut for 49,000.
right. It was actually 2 checks. They only got one for 24.5.
Okay. So by the time we get it, would they miss the summer?
Well, I'm hoping, and that lead time on that unit was 10 to 12 weeks from the time we approved it. And another meeting that may result in some potential funding for us, or grant funding, is we've been attending the local mitigation strategy working group. They hand out FEMA money, working with them. So we're starting to identify some projects for Sun and Lake we can put in for next year.
Good. Anything else? Okay.
I was going to make also an announcement in recreation. We made some staff changes because this is Kelly's last meeting, and she'll be on her way to Houston very soon. But we'll talk about some of that staffing, how it's going to affect moving up and having a supervisor. But they did take Cheyenne, who's been a long-term employee here, and just bumped her up into a recreation specialist and given her some more responsibility and more hours. And she has some solid experience, and the folks here like her. So, and we're glad to have her.
Good.
So, and I will mention something that's coming up, and that's a update on the website. And you see Ariel's not here.
I noticed.
And unfortunately, 4th of July is great. So she was with her family and doing 4th of July activities, and her daughter got sick on Wednesday, and family members called her and said, yeah, we got diagnosed with COVID. So she's on like a 2-day or 3-day quarantine. She took one test already and it was negative. So we hope, but the website construction's going along. We'll have a draft website that's going to be here next week, that product.
We only started this in April. I haven't seen anything yet.
Yep. Well, that's
no
it.
hurry.
Yep. And unfortunately too, Kelly was one of the main people in Deb spearheading that effort, and they're both gone now. So, but we are moving forward with it, and we'll bring you that draft.
So we're going to see that on 7/22?
22nd, we'll bring it in and do a little play.
Okay. Code enforcement reorganization.
Bob? Bob has that and the return of the cans. And we have both Bobs here today.
Do we have anything?
Good morning, board.
Morning.
Bob and I are working together. He's training to be code enforcement officer. We've been writing up things together. So he's transitioning into that department. His replacement has ended up with COVID, so he'll be back hopefully Monday. A lot of that going around. It's getting kind of scary again, but at least it's not a deathly type thing that it used to be. You get sick and it's like a flu, I guess. We're working together on that. We're working on revamping our brochure, which we put out years ago, this pamphlet. We're going to put in 5 things that we can address, which were already in there. Then we're going to put in 5 things that the county addresses that we don't have the ability to do. So, and also with the county contact information. So we'll be working on that, trying to get that ready here before too long. We want to get it done as soon as we can.
If I'm looking at the old brochure, the 5 of the most common violations that you have listed here, that are those the things that's what you look for when you guys go around, or is that just 5 of the most common listings?
That's just the most common things. We look for everything. When we go on around, we're looking.
See, that's what I would like to have. I would like for the board to have a list of what you guys actually look for when you go out.
Okay. Well, we look for every ordinance that we have that we're able to enforce.
All right,
We
well,
look for those.
give me the top 10 things that you look for. I
Okay.
mean, give me something. So if somebody says to me, what do your security people do? I can say, well, here, this is what they basically are looking for.
The most obvious things, of course, are going to be high grass and weeds, cars parking in the yard, but we also look for unlicensed vehicles. We look for animals. We found somebody over on Monza that had some chickens that they no longer have those chickens. We look for boats that are oversized. We look for everything that we have an ordinance of.
The code enforcement thing's like 7 or 8 pages. Give me something, 1 page, summarizes what you guys basically look for.
Okay.
So we all have it.
Okay. And you want that in the brochure like this? Is that?
It doesn't have to be in the brochure. You can do your brochure, that's fine. But give me a summary sheet of what you guys go and do so the board is aware of it.
Okay. See, all right.
And I really like to have that soon.
I give for you the next meeting. Is that be soon enough?
That would be good.
Okay. And then the return of the recycle cans. I've been told we're going to be responsible for picking those up throughout the community. So we're working on putting together a workforce for that. We'll go around with trailers, whatever we need to pick them up, and we'll bring them to our maintenance facility, and then we'll get in touch with the county and have them come pick them up. Hopefully they'll do that on a pretty regular basis.
So,
go ahead.
I just said, they said that they would, when we have some to pick up, just let them know and they'll pick them up.
how are you going to notify everybody what we're doing?
Well, I'm hoping Ariel will be able to put out e-blast to all the residents, and we'll do it also by word of mouth. I get calls all the time about trash cans, and people want to know when they're picked up and when they're not picked up. And
I would think you want to tell Ariel, I mean, to make it a little easier on you and your people, ask for them to bring the cans to the location you would like. And if they can't, then you pick those up.
yes, and
But let them help you out.
That's a good point. That's true. But we have a lot of residents that don't have the ability to bring them in, so we would go out
And that's
pick those
fine.
up.
That's fine.
But the
If they
ones
can't
that
do it, they can't do it.
Sure, we would have them bring them in.
Okay.
No,
Anything else?
that's all I have.
Bob,
I
you got
would-
anything? You got a question? Yes.
No, I just want to thank them I asked about the stove at our
Oh.
last meeting, and by the time we got through with the budget, the stove was gone, and I want to thank you very much.
I thought we did the dog park, is that something?
Oh, yeah, you want to talk about the golf park? Dog park?
Oh, yeah, okay. I put together just a really rough sketch. There's the small dog park, and I apologize, I didn't put the defining boundaries like the lake. As you're looking at it, the lake would be on the top, and the Edgewater Drive would be on the bottom. And you can see on the small dog park on the left, lower level, lower corner there, we're going to extend that out 30 feet. So that would be an easy fix, and then we'll put in the, another port or another series of gates there, and we'll just move our service gates out to the ends of that, and that, the existing fence will be removed. You can see on there, that'll be taken away.
I thought there was going to be an entrance through the back. Isn't that what you wanted?
That'll be, it's called a Sally Port.
Huh?
It's called a Sally Port. That's what the fence guys told me that it's called, where you have an open, a gate that goes into an opening and then another gate that goes into the actual park. That's going to be on there.
Bob, I know Supervisor Herrick asked about, and we talked about the path going back and the parking lot. They're not on there, but I think, Craig, I wanted to let you know that I think he's put in the plan to have a path back on both sides.
Yeah,
With parking.
there will be.
Yes, sir, yeah.
It'll be like a shell rock path or something along that line.
So I just
Gravel.
wanted to make sure that you knew that, Craig.
So the shell path's going to be on the left-hand side of the small dog park,
Correct.
going
Yes.
around to the back.
Right,
Yes.
and the other side.
Oh, the other side's going to have it too?
Yes.
And
Yep.
then we'll have
And
a.
when did we talk last time about extending the large dog park too?
Yes. Yeah.
Both of them?
Yep.
60 feet?
I haven't gotten any.
Were you there?
I haven't gotten any information from the fence companies about doing that side yet. I've talked to them. I know that they're.
So you have to buy more fence too, right?
A little bit.
A little bit.
It's going to be about maybe 120 feet of fence plus the post
That's a
to
little
get
bit.
both sides.
A little fence.
I'd like to somehow get this going if we can. I don't even know if we can.
I'd like to know how much it's going to cost.
Well,
Yeah, I would like that too. I haven't been.
but it's delay again, but people coming out and doing it. And the other side, one side was what, 12 grand
I think it was around
or
13,000.
13,000? So
You can do this whole thing for 13,000?
That was for
One
the
side,
small
right?
dog park.
that was one side, was 13.
Yeah, but that was also the gates on the other side.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was a lot more involved in that 13 than it is now.
But I just, we can wait and wait and wait, but I just wanted to know if we could,
What, just carte blanche say it's okay without knowing how much?
well, up to a certain amount, we can do it up to a certain amount.
Well,
But that's up to you.
That doesn't include the large dog park at all. That 13,000 is only for the small dog park.
Right.
But that's 120 more feet, right?
No, it's about 60 more feet. One side's 30 feet because we've got the fence already. And then the other side would be about a little bit more than 60
Well,
feet.
we don't have to, we can wait again, but it will be January by the time we get it done.
Well, the
Well,
only
no, it
reason we're
won't.
waiting is because people aren't doing what they're
Well,
supposed to do.
I know, that's why I'm trying to,
Well, we could do one side and then get that done and then come back and do the other
Why
side.
don't we just do the whole thing at once? Get prices for the next.
Well, he is.
meeting.
He's trying to get
Well,
prices now.
Just get prices the next meeting and then we can make a decision.
I'll do my best.
he was gonna have prices this meeting, and it's been 3
Tough.
weeks.
It's tough to get these vendors.
That's what I meant, so.
I know that. I've worked in a long time with it. So
Okay, we're
I'm
waiting to do
doing
it
a
in
good job.
December.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, until we know the price, Mike. Right.
Well, I'll get those prices to you as soon as I can get
Well, I know
the
that,
guys to
Bob.
come out.
I understand. You're doing your best. It's just sometimes the best isn't good enough.
Yeah.
Well, not because he's not trying his best, because he can't get the answers that he needs.
I got anything else on the dog park, or we're going to wait till we get the pricing and then we can rush and do it?
Okay. Yeah.
I got a security question. Who's that? Are we open 24/7?
Yes.
Are you sure?
What do you ask? Do we have a security officer on 24/7?
No, I know we don't have that. Late at night, who's answering the phones?
The security officer.
Okay, so I had an issue on Deer Run, hole number 4. 2 kids were playing in the sand trap with 2 adults. The male was laying on the green according to the member who called security. A woman answered the call, which was reported between 7:30 and 8. She advised it was after hours and there was no one on duty and it was not an emergency. This person says, I was under the impression that security was 24/7. Could that possibly be the way it was?
No, that's an old complaint. I'm sure that happened a while ago when our staffing was really, really short, when we had people out with sick and we had people that left and we were very shorthanded. There were some shifts that we were unable to cover. So.
Wait a minute.
But
I know what happened, exactly what happened. What happened was she called the answering machine.
Okay.
She didn't call security,
Right.
okay? She called the office? She called the office answering machine.
Well,
That's what happened.
that's been corrected now.
Right, okay.
But what happened before is if you would dial security off of the Sun and Lake phone number, you get a digit to dial, you get security, that wouldn't ring into the truck in the past. That would ring into a recording, and that wouldn't even get to us.
If she got a recording, how come it talked back to her?
Well, then it had to be the person that was, sometimes the lady will forward the call to the proper person. When you call the on-call person, there will be a lady on there to direct where the phone call goes. She's not even employed by Sun and Lake. I don't even know where she is. But she does.
But it can't be an answering machine. She talked to her.
No. It's the answering company.
It's the answering service.
Supervisors,
Chris is here.
we have
Answering service.
we have an answering service that monitors the district phone line for after hours, for water breaks or sewer
Yeah.
calls or whatever is the issue. You do get a person. It is not a staff member. It's the third-party company. Sometimes they transfer. Maybe there was a miscommunication on that part, but if you call the security number that's listed on the magnets and everywhere directly, you get a staff security officer.
So you're telling me this has now probably been taken care of? It
This
won't
is now
happen?
corrected. When you dial that number and you push the button to talk to security, you will ring right straight into the truck.
Maybe in your little books that you're preparing, you should put in, call the right number or something. I don't know.
Well, either one. You can call the truck direct, or you can go through the answering service. It will not go along to the answering service any longer.
So this person that this happened to, what should I tell her?
If you'd like me to, I know who she is. I can go drive by to her house right now and I'll explain it to her. I know who it is.
It's his wife.
Huh?
It's his wife.
Whose wife?
Bill's.
Mrs. Norcross? Where are you talking? Wait a minute, hold on. Mr. Norcross, pardon my intrusion.
It's his
Where do you
wife,
live?
not him.
Where will be?
I live on the fourth hole on Deer.
On Deer. Okay, well, I was thinking the kids that were I thought we were talking about the other people over on Turtle. It's the kids that play in the sand trap all the time that we're chasing
So
out
we
of
have
there.
more than.
This is a different complaint that I didn't know about.
It's getting worse. We have more than one set of kids playing in sand traps?
Right. Okay.
So she called the answering service and that's what happens.
Right.
So.
She didn't talk to the security officer.
And Ray, that's happened many times that we had to correct it. They call the answering, right, and they don't go to security.
Right.
Well, perhaps
like
we
Ray
should.
said, make sure you get the right number.
Right, they do have
in there.
now. They do have. Either one you dial now will ring into the truck.
Magnets?
What's that? Yes.
So I'm going to
Well,
tell her
there's
she
some in
dialed
the
the wrong
office.
number.
Yeah, there you go.
Bill, tell your wife she dialed the wrong number.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
thank you.
that's been corrected.
Any other questions for these guys?
I do. There was a resident that got bit by a dog or was attacked by a dog last Monday or something. And
Yeah, Mr. Holmes?
Right, I want to let you know that I was a call, and they said you did a very, very good job getting there, getting the dogs and controlling it. So, I mean, I know I usually probably give you help for this, some you don't do, but you did a great job with this.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else with these gentlemen? Yes, Bill.
Bill Norcross, President, don't leave. I just want to appreciate any new policies here you're instituting as far as looking at property that is really a mess, and it should be addressed. For some reason last week, I was checking out the property the county owns and Cortez and all that stuff like that. And the amazing amount of building there and the lots are being cleared. But anyhow, I'm going around that Jill Street. There are two houses there that are really a mess. I mean, they were kind of joined together, trash all over the place, car parts, the car is in the driveway. It's a mess. It really is. And that, I wish you can address that type of
In the
problem,
in
because
the-
that is a cancer right there.
Bill, in the future, you don't have to wait for a meeting, you can just call it in.
Well, this is the first time I've had an opportunity to see him. Thank you.
Oh, you call code enforcement and report it.
Yeah.
So that they do something about it.
I mean, you don't have to wait for us.
No.
Yeah. Well,
He likes to get up and talk.
it was only a week ago, so I kind of like forgot about it and hopefully somebody had picked it up. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
It's Robert Ed, I live on Ponce de Leon. They do a good job. They came out to help me with a neighbor who had a problem about the height of his grass. I went over to the district building to get a copy of the code enforcement. They don't have it over there. And I think everybody that buys property in Sun Lakes, when they move in, get a copy and sign off of the code enforcement. I didn't get one when I moved in over 3.5 years ago. And if you buy property here, you should be aware of the code enforcement. So, and they should sign off with saying that they will give a copy to, if they rent out their property as well. This is something that will take things seriously for the homeowners to understand, and that we mean business, and I suggest you get on this as soon as possible.
Right, I think we have to, thank you, I think we have to review the welcome package that the district provides to new owners. Because I had somebody else who overheard a new owner getting their package at the district office, and they were not really told, they were not even informed that to go online and register so they can get emails from the district. So I think the package probably needs to be revisited to make sure it's all inclusive of everything we want to tell everybody. I don't believe that's happening at this point in time. So if we put that on our list of things to visit. Okay, anything else? Okay, I got a few things that I just need to have updates on when we're going to finish them, and then two subjects on golf course that I want to bring up. The public seat proposal, when are you going to have that, the actual proposal, or are you waiting on that until November?
No, I mean, like say, the discussion we had was that it was good. So, I mean, what I can do, if you'd like, for the next board meeting is I can do it so that it's going to show, because the last one showed all the strikeouts and all that stuff. If you want me to print it up so it's just a clean copy of what exactly it's going to look like, I can do that. Because there was no changes discussed at the last meeting. So.
If you would give it to us at the next meeting, that would be good.
As long as that's been brought up. I don't believe that this board has the authority to change Mr. Gilpin's term from a 4-year to a 5-year. He was elected to a 4-year term. I was elected to a 4-year term. My term is not for 3 years. I believe that we may have means of being able to hold special elections in order to get things in line. But in my opinion, this board does not have the authority to change the terms limits.
Correct, yeah, but it wouldn't be this board, it would be the county, but the county is going to, is going to go by what we're wanting. But I understand what you're saying. If you'd like me to revisit that and figure out how to stagger it or do a special election so that.
All I'm saying is I don't believe the board has the authority to change the duration of the terms. They were elected for the current.
No, I understand. But like I say, what the board is, the board's not changing anything. The board's asking the county to do something, and the county does have that authority, in my opinion. But I'll look into it. I'll definitely look into it.
All right.
Okay, pickleball update from that meeting.
The only change that we made from that meeting was we did include a separate color that that group had requested for the kitchen area.
Yeah, but we never, there was supposed to be a write-up. Do we know if we did the write-up? We didn't do the write-up. Ariel has all the information, so Ariel can give that to us at the next meeting.
Yep, and like I said, the only substantive I knew the change was changing that.
But we're making
color.
changes at the pickleball court that nobody here knows about except for you and I.
Right.
And we should let them know.
And those were the proposed ideas that came from that group.
Right, so that's.
They had pretty lengthy.
Kelly, she knows what we need for the meeting.
Okay.
So we'll do that on 7/22. Newsletter updates from Ariel, I assume as soon as she can get to it. I understand we're shorthanded.
The proof from the company that's supposed to be making the layout has not been presented yet.
Okay, so that's still coming?
Yes, sir.
TBD.
Yes, sir.
This Vizcaya speed sign.
He had to run, he got a call, so we.
Oh, can you check on that Vizcaya speed sign?
I think
He was supposed to give us an update on when he was going to do it.
It was installed.
It's on Vizcaya right now.
Oh, we put it in?
Yeah, he put it out there and he turned the flasher off.
Yeah.
Put it out, I think, 2 days ago.
Oh, that's what I was asking. So he's doing the silent test, so to speak?
Yes, correct.
So we should have that back 7/22?
Yes,
Okay,
should be.
thank you. Cart barn fixtures. Pat Holmes made a comment that the cart barn fixtures needed to be updated or cleaned. Have we done anything with that yet? That was the last meeting, Pat Holmes requested that. Huh?
He was talking about the coquina.
I'm sorry?
He was talking about the coquina between the dog park and the shed there, and we did clean it up and we added some coquina, but there's still a little bit there we need to clean up on the edges of the building.
So I should ask him if he's okay? I'm not
Yes.
sure exactly what he wanted. I just made a note here that.
That's what it was. It was the coquina between the dog park or parking and the shed.
Okay. I did that. Let's talk quickly, if we can, about the changing on the nines on deer. I know a lot of people have serious concerns over changing them. And it was my idea, I brought it up. And my intention was just because I wanted the snack shop to be utilized instead of just sitting there. Now, if the board thinks that it's not worth changing the nines, that's fine. I just want the snack shop open.
I do too. I don't think we need to change the nines. In fact, I think although we do start on 10 quite often.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Jesus. We start on 10 all the time. We used to anyway.
My point was I wanted the snack shack open. And eliminate the cart on deer. Just have the snack shack. And eventually have to do something with turtle, but right now we don't have any money.
So changing of the nines, I'm assuming that we have a consensus that we don't want to do it.
I don't see any problem with it, but as long as they promise not to start everybody on 10 all summer.
Yeah, he brings up a very good question.
Yeah.
Why are we doing that?
So typically when we start on number 10, it's because we do the reverse shotgun for the member group in the morning. And they don't want to start on 18, 17,
There's
16.
nobody on the golf course. What are you talking?
Who doesn't want to start on what?
There's only
We
136
utilize
rounds.
we utilize number 10 because when we send out the shotgun, if we use number 1, we're going to go 1, 18, 17. Well, there's 2 forced carries there that groups don't like to start on 17 where they've got to carry the water 40 or 50 yards, or 18 where they've got that shot over water. So we've been doing that anytime we do a reverse shotgun, we utilize 10. So now we can go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. You have to go all the way back to 5 before there's a
So
forced
you're still
carry.
doing shotguns? I thought we were in the summer, you only do 130 rounds a day. You need shotguns at 830?
They're modified, right? So when we do those, we'll send out tee times before the shotgun, then we'll do the shotgun. And as soon as that group clears whatever we go back to, whether it's hole 7, we go back and then we open up the tee again. So we do a lot of different things to accommodate our member groups.
This is only 130 rounds a day.
A lot of things to accommodate our members.
We're 40 guys out of the 130 rounds.
My guess is that's the group that we just got done discussing in great detail. No?
Yes. I mean, in a perfect world, we'd never run any shotguns. We just have straight tee going all the time. But what makes Sun and Lake unique is our member groups.
In the summer though, we run shotguns? I didn't even know we even did that.
We do reverse shotguns we do it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then on Saturday.
Okay.
Monday and Friday is a straight tee. So the only time we ever have a shotgun is when we have a need for it. You know, physically, it doesn't do us any good to have shotguns, but when we do have large member groups, and that's why going back to the Tanglewood and any group that we have here, any amount of revenue that we can make in the 830 is going to be good versus zero, right? So when we start putting minimums on groups and then they don't meet those groups, well, now we're getting zero versus getting something. So
It was only 46,000.
That's a lot of
the whole
money.
year. That's your numbers. That's what you told us.
but that's 46,000 in the
I
area where
understand, but I want it to be done correctly. That's all.
Sure. I mean, if they were playing at 10 a.m. in the day, they would be paying a whole lot more. So,
All right.
filling up the 8 o'clock and the 8:30 shotguns is difficult, but we have to have those due to our member groups.
What I like about you guys is you always have an answer.
That's their job.
The
Absolutely.
answers don't always make sense, but they got an answer.
So,
Okay, thank you. Oh, you got something for him?
no,
Any other questions for these guys?
So we're staying the same way we are now.
we are not.
Yeah, as far as the
reversing-
layout of Deer, yes, we're going to stay the same way. They've made a commitment that I guess between November, starting in November this year through March, you're going to staff the snack shop.
Yes, we are, and then we'll reevaluate and see how it went and see if, we'll get feedback to see if people prefer a cart or a snack shack, and we'll move on from there.
Okay,
Okay.
I want that on a separate line item with cost of goods and your salary and the whole 9 yards to see if it's actually
Sure.
worth it. I want
Absolutely.
that a separate item.
It is. It already is now, and it will be then too.
Okay,
And I would put a sign out, like 2 holes before the snack shack, saying, call this number so that you can have it.
There's no phone. There's not a phone.
Well, I
in there.
guess we could get.
We could, yeah, we'll look into that. We'll definitely be looking into that. Yeah. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Don't
No.
do that. It's got to go directly
Yeah,
to the snack
no, we'll
shack,
figure that out.
period.
That should be easy. No, it's fine.
okay, thank you, guys. I got 2 more things quickly. I got an email from, again, an ex-board member, a resident, who still thinks it's a good idea to do a wedding chapel / gazebo. And he said, I said to him when he said this to me, I said, forget it, we're not spending $20,000 on it. So he sent me a picture of a nice looking gazebo that you can buy at Costco. And the cost is, it was $1,699. Oh, I'm sorry, $2,099 delivered. And he estimates if you put a concrete pad down, another $1,500 for landscaping, that you could probably do a nice gazebo for about $5,000. And I looked at it, and outside of it not being white, which it was a nice looking gazebo. So I guess my question to the board is, would we like to entertain, if it's only $5,000?
Well,
And this would be the kitchen again? This is more stuff for the kitchen?
Just for the,
Well,
on the grass.
The wedding out in the yard.
yeah,
Wedding out in New York.
kitchen.
Ray, the first thing we gotta do, we gotta raise the backup. Now right, we gotta raise the backup, bring Phil in. Bob's been getting.
Microphone, Mr. Hurley.
Bob's been getting prices on that.
He said
and,
1,500 for landscape.
Wait a minute. Raymond, you have to raise the whole backup. That's not landscaping. You gotta raise the whole backup so we can clean that
Michael,
area up, okay?
Instead of saying no, why don't you say, hey, let's price it out and find out?
And that's what we've been doing.
Who's been doing it? We haven't talked
Well-
gazebo in 2 years.
I think the last meeting you asked to have the back cleaned up, so Bob went out to get prices. Remember in back of the
That's got
clubhouse?
nothing
But
to
the
do with
gazebo
this.
doesn't go all the way out back, does
It
it?
doesn't go all the way.
When you set it up.
Right. I think it needs to come right out of the middle door, if I'm not correct. And why couldn't we just put a pad somewhere on the high ground and then landscape it like what we're talking about?
My only question was, it seems like it's not as expensive as we thought. Is it something the board would like to find out what it would cost us to do?
I think it's a very good idea, yes. Yes, that's my vote, okay?
Okay, can we try and, that would be from that's a district's end, correct? It's the back of the
Oh, yeah.
restaurant. So can we put that on your list of very many things that you have to do? Okay, last thing that I have before we get into the budgets.
No, we got
Before,
to and from board yet too.
Oh, this has kind of been the to and from board.
Oh, it is? I thought it was Ray speak.
Well, I'll let, no,
Go ahead.
only when it's necessary. All right, here's another thing that I was thinking of. We have a very difficult time preparing for these meetings. And the problem that Chris has is, let we leave the meeting today with all kinds of things that have to be done, and then by next Wednesday or Thursday, he has to have the agenda with all the correspondence attached to it, so you guys could get the board package on Friday. And as you could tell, the way we've been running this, a lot of things don't get to be part of the package that should be. So we either move it a week, or we kind of don't cover it the way we should. So I went online and I checked out other places. For example, Avon Park, they meet the second and fourth Monday evening at 6 o'clock for the year. So they have 24 meetings a year, which is very similar to us. We have 22, right? Sebring, and this is strange, they have 17 total meetings. In January, March, April, May, and July, they have one. And the rest of the months, they have two. They meet at 5:30 in the evening. Spring Lake, they meet once a month, the second Wednesday at 10 o'clock. They only have 12 meetings. Lake Placid, the second Monday of the month, 12 meetings, 5:30. Highlands County, just because I felt like checking them out, as you all know, they're the first and third Tuesday of every month, so they do have 24. My question, or what I want to put on the table is, should we go to every 3 weeks, which gives the district breathing room to collect all the information? And it's also beneficial, like when we're doing budgets. It's the same thing with the golf guys. They present their budget on a Friday, we challenge it, and they have to get it to Chris by the following Wednesday, Thursday. It's not like that's the only thing they have to do. They're also running the golf course and the restaurant, et cetera, et cetera. So my point is, and we could even make Hurley happy, because we don't have to necessarily do it on a Friday, maybe every 3 weeks on a Wednesday, or every 3 weeks on a Thursday. So I want you to think about it. I played around on the calendar. If we started January 1 and went every 3 weeks, which would be 17 meetings, it doesn't come into conflict with any holidays or anything like that.
I love it.
So I'm not proposing that we make that decision today, because I don't know if that's changing does that mean we're changing the charter or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, the calendar, there's an approved calendar already. But like I say,
I
when we're
would be
doing the
talking for
next,
next
when we're
year.
doing the next calendar, yeah, there's no legal requirements that we have meetings on Friday. You know, we don't have, to my knowledge, there are no ordinances that require us to have meetings at specific times. The board sets the meeting schedule.
So I would put on the table for next meeting, I guess, to propose that we go to 3 meetings, and we'll pick a day starting next year.
Meetings every 3 weeks.
A meeting every 3 weeks, excuse me.
And you're going to have to propose a day and a time.
You're going to have to what?
A
Yeah,
day and time of
Well, I
week.
would propose, I mean, if it was me, I'd probably say, I don't know, Tuesday or Wednesday, 9 o'clock in the morning. I mean, we can decide that ourselves. I don't want to commit to a day that you guys can't live with.
Ray, wouldn't Wednesday be a good day, because doesn't the county meet on Tuesday, and
Yeah.
and that would mess him up from coming here?
Then Tuesday would have to be ruled out. You're right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm just thinking 17, to go every 3 weeks gives everybody a lot more opportunity to properly prepare for the meeting.
I think it's better than us just spinning our wheels with stuff.
Right.
I mean, we can't make decisions because we don't have the
And
information.
Chris and I have been going crazy trying to get everything
Exactly.
organized, and he only really has 72 hours when you think about it.
Exactly.
Well,
From the previous meeting.
And the golf is actually, they have to get their stuff on that. Every Tuesday, right?
Talk into the mic.
You got to talk into you.
It would be better for the golf, because they only have to Tuesday to get it in. So, I mean.
So I'm going to propose that at the next meeting, and we'll vote on it. How's that?
I think that could be a good idea, but I know when we set this up and Chris told us, he knew it was 2 weeks. It hasn't worked. And we also have 3 weeks this time, and we haven't got our minutes yet.
Well,
And that's 3 weeks. I mean,
But he's
somehow
also-
you've got to tell these people, if they want to keep doing work for us, that they have to get it done. I mean,
the problem with this one.
it's just, every time we turn around, they're not complying to.
But Chris lost a lot of staff. I mean, you got to
Well,
understand.
I understand that, but
mean,
I don't
yeah.
think the minutes have anything to do with
I
that.
think, I mean, right now, there's a staffing issue, but it may very well be that once he gets his staffing up, and we get and he gets his people trained and organized, that we may go back to the old standard and eliminate Infomark. And do it and go back to doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
That's still on the table, and but it's not, we're a little too early to discuss that yet.
Chris, did they tell you when you got them, that they could make this work? And they're trying to do it, or, because it seems like it's been a struggle for them. And I'm happy with them, other than, it just seems like.
No, I think we had some growing pains originally, and then when we kind of sorted out that, we want 15 pages of meeting minutes thing, and I think the last several months, they've done pretty good with getting them in a timely fashion. And the woman that was assigned to do our meeting minutes took another job at the same time Deb did, so there was a little, Deb left.
Jesus.
So that kind of caused that issue. And even though they have several people that work for them, doing the minutes at Infomark, they were literally caught flat.
I also got to be honest, not defending him, but I don't think he knew what he was getting himself into.
Okay.
I mean, he was new, in all fairness to Chris, he was new. He hadn't been exposed to a lot of these board meetings. And I think to a certain extent, it's overwhelming at first.
Well, I think 3 weeks would be good, other than, I just want to make sure that Infomark knows what we expect in 3 weeks.
As I said, Infomark is on a monthly contract, if I'm not mistaken. And if in 6 months, once he gets his people up, we don't think we need him, then we go forward without him.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, I have one thing for Chris. I've noticed, and we talked about it, and Dan and I talked about it before you came, that I'd like, since we're talking about maybe doing something with the restaurant, we might change, and maybe we'll keep the golf, I don't know. But I've noticed and have noticed for several years that the district does a lot of work for the golf section. And I know our thing has always been, we work together. Well, I don't know how much we work together. It seems like the district is, I think you should make a list, one way or the other, knowing the stuff that our Sun and Lake District people do that are extra over and above and what we're doing for the restaurant, the golf course. I mean, we should know because I've noticed, I stopped somebody 6 months ago and asked them what they were doing. It was one of our Sun and Lake employees emptying trash for the kitchen or for the restaurant. I mean, that is not, I guess that's fine. We should know it if it's going on, and if we think it's okay, that's fine. But there's just so much stuff that's done, interacting things that somebody new should know about, and we should know about it too. But if they take over something, they should know that this is what's expected, or this is extra work. So I'd like you to come up with some kind of list of all the extra stuff we're doing.
Yeah, some of the
Trash, emptying trash.
What he was referring to, and I saw it and I put a stop to it really, but it was a
Oh,
very
okay.
complex.
I didn't know that.
It was a complex issue because a couple times a week when they would get food deliveries in over at the kitchen, all of a sudden I see two of our guys, two gators, two trailers, and they're over there for an hour, hour and a half, breaking their boxes down, taking them back to our dumpsters and throwing them in. So I asked Mike, and he goes, well, our dumpster's too small, and if we get a bigger one, it doesn't fit behind no one wants to look at a dumpster, so these guys have been doing this. And I go, well, you either need to get a container that works or have your golf staff do it, because I've got guys that should be cutting grass and doing maintenance work, and they're coming over here breaking down boxes for you. And I go, and you don't pay for our dumpster, but you're filling our dumpster up. So
Well,
Yeah,
it's
I
just,
just kind of told them that they should
yeah.
use their golf staff.
it's just something is, if somebody new takes over, they should know what's going on. And it's up to us whether we want to let them keep doing that. I mean, but I think there's a lot of that stuff going on that we don't even think about.
Any other issues? All right, we're going to take a 2-minute break, but before we take this break, I just want to remind everybody that this is the Sun Lake District, which includes everything. So if one person is helping somebody else out, it's not the end of the world, I don't think. But to have responsibilities, that's fine. I agree with doing that.
Yeah.
But if somebody's got to help somebody, who cares who's paying for it? Sun Lake pays for it.
And you know what? That's why it was getting done. The trash was overflowed. When people were going in and out of the restaurant, they weren't picking up trash, right? So they needed help, so we gave them help. And it was, I'm the one who started it, and you know what? It worked and it kept it clean. We had residents walking in the restaurant and actually complaining about trash blowing all over. And
I agree.
that's why we helped. So thank you, Ray, for that.
Well, I think we should help, but just some things we need to know about what's going on.
Well, in the cost, it's a cost
Yeah,
center.
it's
How
a
much
cost.
does it cost to do
It's
it?
a cost, that's all.
Okay, 3-minute break, then we do budgets.
Oh, great, you got a gavel.
Oh, I have to gavel?
Boom. No. We'll walk through it. I talked to Brooks about the contract, and I'm going to bring it forward with a few other ones. Just to do that as part of the budget process. Works for me. Yeah, part of that, I know they say it's the district, and so also, where does it start? Sometimes one thing to help is one thing where it becomes a for a couple hours, and I'm like, so you're filling our dumpsters up and using our people and our gas? I said, these guys have stuff to do for the district. Why are they doing? And you're looking at their gas money because, they can pick up this responsibility. I kind of laughed because I said, hey, it's great you guys did your irrigation water for free, but the electric bill, I said, yeah, well, the pump scorched at 14 grand, we paid for it. And I said, quite honestly, I go, how do you get water white? And I said, I'm proposing this rate case, we charge them $10 a gallon.
Because Sears.
I'm asking.
Because there's a few things in there I'm going to jack up a little bit. It's going to get their attention.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good addition. I don't know how much it's being used. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, walking down. I know, it's
I'll just make a list of go into the detail of these
Unit size.
Yep, that's a Texas. All right.
Yes. Well, there's two of them right now, I think one, two. If they find a third one.
Good. How you?
Like, just.
What's it, an everyday thing? Or what?
That is, I was gonna give you a little joke.
Hey, I just, there just isn't one of us. Right. I don't want to. If they change.
Well,
They need to.
the golf course?
Instead of us using our people. Which I know.
I have, no, you're right. No, not this. Yeah.
But it's always one sided. I mean, I agree with you. We gotta work together, but it's cost to the district.
Okay. You guys ready? Let's try and get through this in an hour. You ready?
I didn't.
No,
I didn't get
Craig's
this.
not ready.
I'm gonna have to go to the bathroom while we're doing the person that guy talked to, university. Yeah. Why will, I will, I agree.
They listen to all these meetings. They tell me they do. Think about how I'm gonna get a chef to come in here now. Yeah, you wanna come be my chef? You might lose your job in 6 months, but come on in. I've been talking to one too. Why would he come?
Yep. I thought it was an interesting comment that Beverly made about, if you hire a lease person to come in and run a restaurant, they aren't going to care about the card games and and they want the tables filled. And that's the part is they're putting a burden on you. It's like, you want me to make money, but you have all these rules that keep us from making money.
Well, that's how it's always been. But, so imagine a relationship for us in golf, when we do groups and we do tournaments, how we don't control our restaurant. So what if they say no? We're doing a wedding. Okay.
Did you guys do a lot of weddings?
Yeah.
Oh.
We got one next weekend.
Go ahead.
We do 10, we do at least one a month. We do 12 or so a year. 12 to 14.
Okay, back in session. Okay, budget. I guess the first thing we should look at, where's Michael? This handout that Chris gave you? That top sheet is a new sheet that I actually did a couple of days ago. Because we've always had this conversation on where money should come from and who can cover what, et cetera, et cetera. So I broke it down I took the existing capital recap and I broke it down to the general/golf fund, put those two funds together, because in reality, the money comes out of there for both those funds. And then the utility fund. And I just ran all the numbers across, and it's really kind of interesting. I even added on an extra year, 27 and 28. The reason I added that on is because that's when we actually make what we think will be the first payments on the loans. Okay? So what you have here, if you look at 27, 28, you've got The general golf fund has $270,000. The capital fund would be $1,108,000. Now, I ran the numbers as if they're consistent. So the 270,000, I'm saying as we go along, revenues will increase, expenses will increase. You'll still have approximate balance of 270,000 to the good. The capital fund is $1,108,000. $1,108,000. That's because of the estimated $600,000 that we're going to have to pay for the water plant. So we're in the hole, $837,000. And if you going forward from then, that's how much we're in the hole. If you look at the, actually, I'm sorry, that's the sewer number, right? Chris is in the general fund?
That's the
Stormwater. That's the stormwater plant. If you look at the utility fund, we run about 950,000 clear. The capital for 27, 28 is with the loan that we're going to take is 808,000. So we really have a balance. We can cover the sewer when you put everything in the right place. So that's a good thing. So the money that we would have to raise would be the assessment monies to cover the 837,000. If these numbers hold true. And I think, one more thing, I think I think to do it this way and to look at it this way going forward is the right way to do it, because the utility money goes for the utilities and everything else falls under the general/golf. And that was the major complaint that we had months ago from, who gave you the authority to move monies from utility, et cetera, et cetera. If we do get ourselves in this position for 27, 28, everything will be in the right place and we'll come out of the right category. Okay? That's just so you look at it. You got what to say?
It's also, I got it. It's also a conservative look at it, because one thing we do with the rate case is we put in a 2.5% off the top transfer from the enterprise fund to the general fund, and that isn't included in here. And also, when you look at the number of lots that were developed and were sold, last year they waited till after October to close it, so it didn't impact this year. But next year you'll see those revenues coming in, and it should be to a positive, being conservative, $150,000 to $200,000. And on the
that's one place I was going to, when we talk about our assessments, we show the same as if it was last year.
Right.
Right.
We're talking, we had in the vicinity of, it's minimum of 500 lots. 300 I know were bought by Prominence, and I'm pretty sure I could add up another 200 through Southern and another firm. If you just take an average assessment, because some of those places have homes on it now, you're talking $500,000, or you could use a $500 assessment on average, which I think is quite low. That's $250,000 every year, additional assessment that is not included in here.
This is there is a cushion here. I think the way we have to play this, if I would make the suggestion, is I think you have to say to yourself, I've got to raise the assessments 5% a year for 5 years. But as you go along, you may find out the last 2 years you don't have to raise it at all, because
and I agree,
the situation has changed. But I think in your own head, you have to start out by saying, I'm willing to commit to this.
And I agree with the 5%, but I'm saying the starting number that you have at 3430 is wrong.
Oh, I know it is. It should be, right now it's at 3611.
Well, then you moved it back down.
No. What I did was, if you take a look, I don't know if you guys have this. If you take a look at the May financials for the district, the assessments year to date are 3.6 million. Well, we collected. That's what I'm saying. So that number.
Okay, I even go with that. go with your 3.6. I say you had another 250,000 minimum on that, because starting in October, all of those places that didn't close last year are now on the books, are now eligible for assessments, and it's an additional in the vicinity of $250,000.
Yeah, as low as
Minimum.
what,
You think we're
450? 450 is the smallest their pay, right?
Yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
just a little under 500 is the
Yeah.
average, and I'm saying a lot of these lots that were sold now have been developed, and then they're talking 700, just under 800,000. So taking a small average at 500,000 for 500 additional lots, $500 assessment that is now going to come due in the new 22-23 period, takes that number from 36 up to just under 4 million.
So you think we're going to get $250,000 off of the new, how much did you say?
Well, you got 500 lots probably that were going to come, that will start paying assessments in this.
We have 500 lots that'll start paying, that aren't paying assessments now?
300 were,
Yeah.
because Commons waited until
Yep.
after October.
Till they closed.
They didn't have to pay this year's assessment.
So they're going to have to pay for each lot, what, 350?
300, well, it's about, it's just under 500.
I think it's 450, isn't it, for an unapproved lot?
Yeah, vacant unapproved lot, and they have some that don't have roads. Yeah, some of the outliers that they got, but most of them have a better assessment.
But if you take an average, because Southern Homes bought at least 100 lots during that same period that just are going to come due.
All right,
And
so
I
let's,
think there was another big, I can't remember the name of that particular group, they bought a significant number of lots. Those assessments are now going to be assessed in 22-23. So we've got, in my opinion, at a minimum, about 250,000 additional dollars that we currently don't have in.
And we're still running that 10 construction permits a month. That's staying very steady. And also with those, with the connection fee, we put 50% increase this year and 50 again next year. So that's helping the utility fund.
all right.
Do we have, and listen up over there. On the assessment, we have some kind of a data input that shows these are the places that are now going to be assessed, or that are on our assessment list. They're going to go out.
We're updating that roll right now.
Okay. Because that should tell you exactly the number of new lots that are now going to be able to be assessed in the 22-23 time period. And we could, and I'm still thinking it's right around 500. Now, I may be wrong. But even at a low minimum of saying that we got $500 a lot, $250,000 that's going to come in fiscal 22-23.
Okay, so if the assessments right now are at 3611, you're saying we should be comfortable with raising them $250,000 without a problem? Because we still have, that's even still a cushion, because you got, this is the May numbers, 3611. You still got June, July, August, you got 4 months more of collections, although I'm sure they will be lower.
Right, but it's still.
That's an extra
Let's
cushion.
say it went to 3.7. So then you go to 3950.
So you could go, yeah, so 3611 plus 250 is 3860. You could almost go to 39 and call it a day. Chris, are you okay with that?
Sure.
We'll go to 3, well, we got.
And what I'll do is we'll do a hard calculation just on the permits we've issued and the new development, for those numbers that'll be on the road.
All right, for this.
In the fiscal year 21-22. In the fiscal year 21-22, we know Southern Homes has finished several homes.
and Tommy James. All of those,
Hornick,
the golf villas,
yeah.
Magnolia Villas are all in there now. There's several lots and lots of dollars that we don't have in there right now.
All right,
I noticed in the paper, if you guys, on Sunday, it has the deed transfers. Last year, right after October, all the big developers paid for it afterwards, so they had that other year, which makes sense. I mean, they're doing good business. Yeah, so, but there'd be a lot. Right. All 306, but there was 500 and some sold at that same sale. Yep.
And the county is planning to do another sale, I think the 1st of October.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one going on now, I think.
All right, so let's go through this. We'll make that change when we get to it. That's fine. Yeah, I know you saw that one page. All right, so obviously that sheet's not going to change, but let's look at the capital and make sure we got the capital right. The capital for the general fund. Anybody have any changes they would like to see, thoughts they would like to see? I will preface this by saying the $2 million for the pool, I know we can handle it now, but I don't know if we can handle it when we get the estimate on the water plant. It could very well be way in excess of $10 million, in which case the pool would have to go bye-bye. But until we have that number, I think we should leave it there. And I know it's a big nut, but right now it fits.
Yes.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
That's fine.
If you notice, the storm system rebuild is down there at 400,000, although there's no number there, it's in the justification column. That's what's on that sheet for 27, 28 that I gave you. I think I used 400 even. So everybody's okay with the general fund capital? Okay. The utility capital. I did have one question, Chris. We had, at one point in time, $140,000 in 23, 24 for the elementary school lift station. The dollars in the total column, but it's not there. Are we still intent on doing that?
And I might have to double check on that, but some of those repairs on that particular item, we put in the budget part of it for this year, and we also have some of that ARPA money.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's why that kind of disappeared because.
Oh, that's fine. I just had a note. So we should take that 140,000 out that's in the total column, even though it's not in the total, and just take that whole line out. That's the only question I had on utility. Anybody had anything else on that? Okay. Oh, one other question, I guess. Is that Florida Avenue water line, Joey, replacement is 100,000? Is that enough?
Mine says 140.
No, I don't believe that's enough. I was talking with Chris and basically talking about adding another 100,000 to the top of that by the time you do engineering and the breakdown, relocating the line.
So 100,000 is a good number?
No, I think we're projecting about 220.
That's close.
No, it's 100 off from our original 120.
It's on the utility fund, Florida Avenue water line replacement. It's down there for 100,000.
Mine says 140.
Mine says 142. He wants 220.
But you said 140, that's where I'm getting.
No, I said 100. No, the 140 was for the elementary lift station.
Oh, you were way out here.
Well, yeah, because there's nothing in any column for the
Well, it
lift
isn't even
station.
there anymore.
No.
I don't have it on here at all.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Joey,
We have to make sure that
To cover it, I would say yes.
Right.
With the way everything's going up.
do I not have the right utility? Chris, you got to make sure that I have the same ones at the package.
Okay.
I don't have the same sheets. Okay. We can work it from here. That's fine.
So that
So the
125 goes to 225.
Is that what it is, 2 1/4 now?
cover, we would say to be safe. Yeah, inflation mainly.
Okay, anything else on the utility, Mr. Hurley?
No.
Not true.
Oh,
Mr. Early.
the meters, you mean? Where we, the meters, where are we with the meters?
Well, right now, we're at a standstill with it. We put out the bid. We got the top three contractors selected, and we did not award the bid. So we could always come back and award the bid to the selected contractor that we had recommended. And where we are right now is we put in the budget 10-year loans to finance the meter project, and that principal and interest will be paid for through the utility rates.
Okay,
So we just go out and do a borrowing and pay it back through the increased rates.
Right, but right now, if the meters are going up $40 or $60 a meter right now.
They went up the 1st of July.
Well,
So that's $200,000 difference.
Yeah.
Then can we, and Ray, I don't know if we can do this or not, but can we go after that contract right now and see if we can get it in place and save the $200,000? I mean, if we do it right now?
No.
Or is it too late? So.
What is the price per year going to be? You got down here 150,000 for the first year, 150,000 for the second, and then 125, I assume, for the balance of the 10 years.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah, well, we put in there total 1.5 million to be on the safe side too, because of meter boxes, increased construction costs, that type of thing.
Let me try this again. This is we're going to pay this off in 10 years, we said.
Right.
Are we going to be able to pay off the cost in 10 years with the math that's here?
Yes, sir.
It doesn't add up to what you're telling me, does it?
I've got the 150 for the first 2 years, and then as it starts declining, as we pay the principal off, it'll be about 125,000 a year.
And that'll cover the whole thing within 10 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good enough. Okay.
And a big part of that too is not just the meters, but we put in that bid replacing like 50% of the meter boxes in the district, because you know the condition there.
Well, we know that, right, I understand that. But if we would have pulled the plug on it 15 days ago or 20 days, we would have saved $200,000.
Yeah. If
We weren't
pulled
even
the
gonna
plug
do
on the
it.
golf course in January, we would have saved 200,000.
The board decided last year not to even
Yeah,
do
I
this.
know, but I know what it decided.
Your numbers,
I know what we decided, but what's $200,000 anyways?
your math.
Probably should have been done 2 years ago.
Right, exactly.
For
2 or
8
3 years
years
ago.
is 1 million, and then the 300,000 for the first 2 years. You only had 1.3 million, not 1.5 million.
I'll double check that number.
Well, let's check it now. It's not that hard. I want to get this thing
If you go
right.
8 years at 125, that's $1 million.
Yeah.
And then if you're only adding 300,000 in the beginning, you're going to be 200,000 short.
I'll check that budget number and bring it back to you with the
Well,
clarification.
I'm tired of, let's get this right now, okay? Then you can tell us if it's wrong. How much is the whole project going to cost?
1.5 million top end.
Okay, so take 1.5 and divide it by 10. It's 150,000 a year
50 a year.
for 10 years. So we got to go 150,000 across the board. We got to start getting numbers where they're solid so we can finish.
Okay, I'll make that change.
Okay, so that changed. So that's going to be 150,000 across the board. The water line replacement right now goes up to 225. Anything else on that, on the utility fund that is in question area? Okay. The golf fund. I can tell you that the first year, the equipment replacement's only 184,000, not the 204 that's there. 184. And then we got, I think the 204 is really 205 on 23, 24. I think that's just a typo. Because the rest of the month's 205. Anything else that's questionable or that you want to challenge on the golf fund? We got it all?
Can I make a quick suggestion? So, all right.
Yeah, you're right.
So as I've been looking at this equipment right now, I have a recommendation. I've had people approaching me trying to buy all your gators and everything. I think it's an opportunity. I don't know how we would do it, but they're having trouble buying used equipment. So they've came up and asked about buying the gators that we are turning in. We can turn them in to Everglades. Everglades is going to mark them up and make the dollar on them. We have a certain part for a buyout in our plan that the other stuff that we were wanting, but I would say buy those and try to make some extra money, or let me do it for you all. They're $16.76 a piece. They're going to sell them for $3,500 used. Craig, you were in the business with equipment.
So what's the buyout for all of them, Jimmy?
Well, it's $16.76 times the 12 TX Gators that we have.
So you want to,
Well, we're gonna replace them. I was just saying it's an opportunity for you to make some additional money. I mean, $5,000 or $6,000 at least towards our stuff that we need to purchase and buy out.
I'm not sure how that works. So if you trade them in, you get how much?
If we trade them in, we're not getting anything. We're
No,
just,
I mean, I'm sorry, if you sell them.
if we sell them, we could probably get 3,000 out of them easy.
Okay, you have 12 times 3, so you sell them, you get 36,000. But then you have to add them back into the lease, correct? Or we just,
No,
don't we have gators anymore?
We would pay $16.76 to Everglades, and then we could sell them or do whatever we wanted ourselves.
We had $16.76 is the price.
Yes, sir.
It cost you $20,000 to buy them. You ended up selling them for 36, so you'd make 16,000.
Right. So why would you do that? Isn't that smart? Why would?
Right.
It went over my head, but if they're telling me it's smart, I'll go
No,
with
it's
it's
smart.
smart.
He said it was 16,000 something, 1676 times 12 is $20,112 to buy them. Instead of turning them in.
Okay.
He says he can sell them for $3,000 a piece.
We can turn them.
That's $36,000 of income.
It's just
36,000 minus 20,000.
It's just a suggestion.
If it's beneficial to us, sure.
Absolutely. Instead of letting them make the money, we're going to flip them and do it. But we just need to make sure we follow the government protocols as far as us selling equipment. So we just need to, I don't know what that is.
I
but
think the board would be in favor of making money.
do we have to auction them? Would they have to go to auction?
The cleanest way is just to put it on govdeals.com. Take the bids on it, but you could take them to auction too and just declare them surplus.
Unless, I think that's how that works for us. I think we have to fall under
I
the
think the board is
governmental
saying,
guidelines.
yes, it's okay to proceed.
Yes.
Yes, but double check and make sure.
I will. Absolutely.
Make sure that you're doing the right thing.
But Jimmy, you're pretty secure with your numbers anyways, right?
I know the buyouts from Everglades is the 1676.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. So we know we're not, as long as we don't lose, that's all we care.
You're not going to lose them.
Right.
The only other, is there anything else you guys want to bring up? I just want to make sure that the clubhouse, the painting and the column updates, you think that's enough?
It would,
I mean, I want to really do that because I think the building looks like hell.
I agree.
no, I totally agree. We did have somebody come in and actually give us the bid for that. And that was
Okay.
well within that bid. Now, obviously, at $40,000, I believe we're gonna have to do an RFP for that. I don't know how, again,
I'm just
following
saying, I think the building needs updated. I want to make sure we do that.
right, that 55,000 is definitely within the quote that we got, yes.
All right, then the other thing is on the turtle. Oh, I'm sorry.
The only thing it left out, Craig, was the actual cost of the stone.
Correct.
Actual cost of the stone. So there's a bunch of different varieties of stone and qualities of stone that you would do it. If you got like a typical sandstone from Tennessee, Kentucky, whatever, it's a half rock. It's just something that adheres to the column. But there's different grades. If you wanted to go with a granite or go with something different, I think it'd be something that we'd bring samples to and let you all make the decision on what you'd want. What?
But that money is not in here.
Correct.
How much you think that
Did we
is?
allow for some?
I want to get
I
this
think we
right.
allowed for some.
There is I mean, we can measure them and we can go Home Depot and Lowe's and look at them ourselves and see what it's going to cost us. The other thing is are you going to do them all the way up, to the ceiling? I mean.
How are they now? They're all the way up, aren't they?
No.
No, they're
I
half
would,
rails.
I'd only go half.
I just want to replace it because the color and it's just
I agree.
outdated. I just want something
Mhm.
that we can all be proud of. But I need an estimate, how much you think it's going to be?
For the stone itself. Yeah. Well, I know Gary gave us the bid. He went out and measured all the buildings, and it's elastomer paint. It's not a 5-year paint. It's a 15-year paint. So.
I mean, we're painting the cart barn, that's all getting
Yes,
painted,
sir, and all
right?
the golf course
Okay.
bathrooms and everything.
Yeah, I mean, let's do it right. So if it's not, I mean, heck, if it's another 15,000, I mean, the rest of us won't be around when we have to do it again.
Correct.
You're gonna do all the outbuildings, the clubhouse, the cart barn, the bathrooms for $40,000.
For
Yes, sir.
$40,000?
Yep,
Really? But not the stonework,
not the stonework,
the stonework.
right.
So,
But he would do the
He's got
stonework. All
the
we have to
column
do is buy the
updates.
material.
It's separate.
You've got column updates for 15,000. You
Right.
don't think that's enough?
how much?
He put it,
I don't.
It's pretty inexpensive. The labor's what cost.
I want to be able to wash it so it doesn't fall apart. I mean, we
Yes,
want
sir.
good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he does it all over I mean, he's a contractor.
All right,
That's
so
what
you're
he does.
comfortable with it?
Who do we get prices from?
I'll know.
The painting is coming from a friend in Avon Park that does all of Hornicks, does everybody's painting around here.
Okay, and how about the stonework?
The stonework, he's going to do it as well.
And who is it?
It's Gary Namey.
It's American.
All right, if
He's
not, give me a
licensed
better
and
price by
everything.
the next meeting, please.
For the
If you
stone.
don't think that's a good price.
I'll double check it. I thought we allowed for that, but I'll double check it.
Any other comments on the golf fund? Okay, the last thing on the golf fund, the Turtle Run green loops. I don't really think I want you guys doing them.
I agree.
My personal opinion.
That's fine.
I
So-
like them to be done professionally. I don't mean that in negative.
It
You
doesn't
guys,
matter.
you guys got enough things that I want you to
It's
do,
fine.
that you need to do on the golf course. To
I got
have
it.
to take this on, not a good idea.
Is the 550 enough then?
So, well, wait, so right now, Tony's going to be here next week, Altman. The design is done. He has it. I rode the golf course with Doug and GT Irrigation last week. So all we're waiting on is a takeoff from Wesco, and then I'll actually have you an actual number that it'll cost. If we need to add something for 4 years or 3 years down the road, then that's what we'll do. But you'll actually have a number for it to be done.
Okay.
We will-
Anything else on that, on the golf capital? Okay, utility budget? I guess, is that what you guys got next? We'll go page by page, anything on revenues and other sources. Okay? Sure. Anything on customer service?
No.
The one thing that really looks weird on the customer service, by the way, just so you know, the estimate on the payroll salaries for 21, 22 is extremely low. It's really going to be more like 90,000, 93,000. Based on, and again, I looked at the May financials that we approved earlier today. And if you look at May, he's already at 61.4 in payroll salaries for customer service.
Well, but we had, on customer service, okay. I was thinking we had a buyout that we had to pay.
No, I'm assuming his numbers for the budget is correct, but it's really not a 59% increase. What I'm saying is it's really much smaller.
Yeah,
Just,
that's fine.
that's all I'm really saying.
Yeah.
Anything on that page that anybody wants to challenge? Anything on the operations? salaries are the same way. If you look at the salaries right now, he's already at 200. He'll probably be about 350, 400 before the year's out.
Yeah.
Okay? Next page. Oh, wait a minute. Manhole repairs, he did make that adjustment, so you just noticed that he put the 250,000. And that will be part of the budget going forward.
Life and health insurance. Right now, we've got 53,000 estimate actual for 21, 22, and we're gonna go to 99,000.
That's due to the additional positions that we added.
It's a bit, well,
Right now, utility,
so we
you're
went
talking
from
about what?
290 to 453.
The workman's comp?
It just, it seemed, yeah, but at 40,000 for how many, we had, it just seems like a significant increase. I know it's gonna be up, but it just seems like quite a jump.
I'll double check that number.
Okay.
And I'll get
It
the
seemed like a
actual
pretty
for
good
you.
job.
Yep, and I'll have an addendum.
Anything else on that page?
Okay, liability and property insurance, 100,000 to 250,000.
No, that's lift station manhole repairs.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the.
Oh, okay, I'm drawing the wrong line. Thank you.
It does run together.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else on that page? Okay, next page. Account summary, total operations. Okay. Capital we already went over. That includes the utility fund. Everybody okay? Oh, wait a minute, I'm not. Okay, on the capital, let me just get my notes here. Oh, 75. On the budget request, and correct, somebody check my math, I don't believe the 42,000, the 75,000, or the 250 is in the capital. I don't think it's there.
I don't have a page.
If you look at, yeah, I don't have a page number. The capital expense for the utility fund does not list automatic line flushing. It doesn't list the low pressure sewer lines. It doesn't list the infiltration line repairs. And I believe the equipment, instead of being 180, we changed it to 90. So my question would be, are these supposed to be in the capital? Because they're not.
No, those should be where they are, just under operations, because they're just rehabbing existing facilities. It's a repair, a maintenance and repair item versus something new that capital is traditionally.
Yeah, but you can't find them in the actual budget. That was my problem.
I'll make the change on that.
So you're talking about moving like 367,000 into the regular budget.
Right.
Okay, so let's make sure we're on the same page. So item 1, the automatic line flushing, to replace low pressure sewer lines and the infiltration line repairs, which add up to 367, are now going to go into the regular budget. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And I'll check that too, because I think next year we were going to, actually, we had that 42,000, maybe looking at the wrong place on the automatic line flushers, because we were going to use that ARPA money Let me double check
Yeah,
those three
so
items.
if not, if that's true, you got to move them for the
Right.
next meeting and then
Right.
change the 180 down to 90.
Okay.
Good thing we increased the assessment. Okay, now we can go. Anybody else on that? Now we can go to the general fund. We've already decided on the general fund. We're going to take the assessments. Forget the total page. Look at let's go through this, the second page. We're already going to take the assessments to 3900000 is what we said.
I think that's fair.
Everybody okay with that? Anything else on that page that anybody would like to challenge? Next page. I'm sorry?
Wait a minute, wait a minute. If we're, the 3430, was that the?
That was once upon a time when we thought
once
we were
upon a
going to end
time,
this year.
And that's the amended budget was 30. So the 36, so where's the 5%?
It's not in there.
Okay.
The percentages, we didn't play with those.
So
The percent, it would be 3,900,000 without an
without
assessment
5%.
increase.
Okay. Good enough.
And we still have to have that conversation.
Yes.
Anything else on that page? Next page, administration expenditures. The salaries are also low there, so the percentages won't be that high. But anything anybody wants? Nope. Next page. Community services. Nothing? Next page. Recreation services. Finance. Code enforcement. Security. Building ground maintenance.
Do we really,
Huh? What you got?
I'm just concerned, do we really have enough money in that area?
Building ground maintenance or anything
Yeah,
in particular?
Building ground maintenance. I mean, I thought we were gonna give minimum wages.
I did. I took the landscape maintenance up to 40,000.
Oh, okay. I have a
Is that what
question.
you're talking about?
Right.
I'm just thinking if we gotta increase the minimum wage, is that reflected in here? I don't see it. I see it.
No, has been no salary adjustments beyond what's typically been done historically is that 3%.
So we really didn't make any adjustment for
Well,
bringing the,
that should be a question that we should have,
yeah, do we need to,
because that's across the board. That's not. just-
yeah, right. Do we need to make some bumps on minimum?
I know,
Minimum
I know,
rates.
I know Chris was working on some numbers based on what the county did
Yeah,
when we
and,
found out that they raised. I don't know where you are on.
just about finished with it. And we also, Dan and Ariel had put together a spreadsheet too to show what we needed to do to raise our salaries to come up with the new minimum wage requirements that are due in 2 years. So how much mobility was in there, but I'll bring these side-by-side figures and show you 3 different options and what that would do.
Yeah, he's working on it. He's not ready.
And on the utility side, I inflated those salaries for the rate case to cover it. So again, utility self-supporting an enterprise fund, but the general fund's a different story. And politically, you have a guy sitting next to a guy that the utility guy might be making a few more dollars an hour, working in the same organization. It's of concern. But the utilities, and again, our increases are going to be very minimal, to the bills, to the residents' bills, I mean, under 5%. When you look at someone who's getting a $60 a month, maybe utility bill at 5%, we're talking a few dollars, maybe $25 a year. But this could have a huge impact on the general fund side. And the county went up 10% across the board with their equipment operators, the people that drive equipment for the landfill and their mowers and that, and they're still struggling to keep people.
And that's why I bring it up, because if that's what we need to do in order to retain employees, then, we need to look at that. And if that's a good business decision, then so be it.
I think it's something we certainly have to entertain, but we have to wait for him to do his homework before we entertain it. So very easily they could go up, and they probably should.
And I'll bring up the elephant in the room too, because I'm putting together a chart that basically has salaries, insurance, the benefits we pay for a total cost for the employee. And, you do have a number of employees that their benefit package, when you look at the family insurance, is 55, 60%. They're making $32,000. We're paying them $32,000. So when you start looking at benefit packages at 50, 60%,
Well, we shouldn't give it to them to begin with.
I'm not sure how that comes into the whole mix, but we'll look at some options.
Yeah,
Chris,
I think we definitely have.
Chris, how would you change that then?
Well, that's a good question, because when you typically would increase the employee's contribution to a family plan like the county does. They pay the big percentage of the individual's insurance, but if you're going to add a family plan to it, and we pay 85% of the family plan the way that we do with the individual's insurance. And you also have to, I think, look at it as a benefit, because if you have an employee with a benefit package and you have two guys in the back, and one of them has the family plan and he's getting $20,000 a year more than the guy working next to him, so we pay people $20,000 a year more to have kids? I mean, is that, what is
We
it?
need to look at that.
The standard across the board, I think, is it's going to be more self-pay to maintain.
Yeah, and that's how we did it up north, is we decreased the amount of how much you pay. The contribution, and that's the only thing you can do. If we're paying 85% and they're getting that kind of money, then we ought to,
And I've seen some
it
creative
has to be
things done.
reduced.
They go to the health savings account that has a little higher deductible, but the employer pays like 25%, every third month in the quarter for the year to help meet that deductible, and then they leave it to them. So there's some ways, but it's just, when you look at it, I think it needs to be looked at.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's like you said, it's the elephant in the room.
But
Yeah, it really is.
But it's one of the
Up north, 1% raise. by $1
fastest
million.
growing
Right.
expenses of all businesses.
Yeah, and we can't just look at
1%
salaries,
raise
we've
was
got to look
all
at the whole
in.
picture.
Right.
So I'll bring you those charts for the next
1%.
meeting.
Next meeting would be great. Building ground maintenance, anything else? Road and drainage maintenance, anybody?
I have a question.
Yes.
On
On what?
we do, we service Sun Lake Boulevard, and we cut it. Did we ever get any money from the county?
I
know
could tell you we don't now.
Okay.
I don't know about it if we ever.
Supposedly, there was an agreement somewhere, and I was told this again and again. I was told it the other day, and I told him I'd ask about it.
You should have asked Scott. It's a good question for Scott.
I'll ask Gator.
Huh?
I'll ask Gator. He's engineer, he's over that department.
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid point. If
I mean,
we should.
maintain it. We do all the irrigation, we put pumps, we do lighting. I mean, we do all kinds of things on that.
Do we have any idea how much money we spend on that?
It's not broken out like a cost
Not
center
broken
just
out.
for the boulevard, but he's right, you have electricity on the
If we
street
go to,
lights, pumps.
if we go to the county, is it possible to break it out so we can have so we can actually tell them how much they owe us?
Yeah, we could ask them that, and they may say, well, we'll take it over, but we're doing it the county code
Yeah,
minimum.
and that's what they told Tammy.
That's exactly what they'll do, and
They
it
said
will
they
look,
take it over
it will look like the rest of the
Well,
county.
let them take it over then.
We don't, you see, you
So-
see what it would
so
look
we
like?
keep doing it.
Well, what they're
eventually
saying
our
is if they
insurance
take
is
it over, it may not be up to your specs.
That's right.
I understand that, and I'm sure it won't be.
And then what
Because-
happens?
Right? Well,
But then what happens?
Got an ugly road.
I
We
mean,
got an ugly road.
I don't mind checking it out, but I don't want to
think we
jump
should
in.
check out- Yeah.
I don't want to jump in and have it
Yeah,
come back
no,
and
no,
bite
I
us
agree.
either.
I mean, we just can't drop it because I don't think the county would, I mean, Sandy and I think it's Taco, I mean, do a great job on it. They keep it clean. Christmas time they do, so, I mean, I don't think we should drop it.
Okay, road and drainage maintenance, anything else? Okay, equipment and vehicle maintenance? That should do it. Okay, so I think we just need to make those adjustments, see what it looks like next time, because these are some big adjustments. Not quite sure what the outcome will be from these adjustments. There is one more thing I want to bring up on the budgets that I want to have Chris add to the budgets. And Chris knows about this. I talked to him earlier about this. I want to add, I don't know what the title would be, but an assistant, I don't know, district manager. I don't know what you're going to call it. I think Chris needs a right arm, and I don't think he has one. And I think he is spread, even without help for sure, he's spread way too thin. When he gets people in places that he needs to, he may not be spread, but I would like to have in the budget, just in case he needs additional help, to budget something. As an assistant, I don't know, district manager or something. We have no bench, basically, and I'm worried about that too. If Chris wants to go on vacation, who's going to take over?
And that's a good point. I'll use reference when I worked at Gateway. There wasn't an assistant, and it created some problems. And finally, it was they authorized that position as an assistant district manager, and I hired someone with a finance background to do it. But it was kind of interesting because I said, so I've been here 3.5 years and now you're going to bring it up? I said, thanks. But that assistant became an intern, when I left.
Yeah,
And it
I
took them
just think
6
it's
months to hire somebody, and they had to up the salary 20 grand.
So
No, I
I'm
think
going to have Chris put it in the budget,
I think it's an excellent idea.
and we'll see what it looks like again when we see everything else, and see
It's an
what we come
absolute
up with.
Must.
Well, what I'll do too is take a percentage of that money too and assign it against the utility operation and add it into that rate, because it's not a lot of money. But really, when you look at what we're doing and some of that administrative time, when you have an enterprise fund the size we do, it takes up a lot of time.
If we go forward with it and he hires somebody, I'm going to let him make the decision on their responsibility and how he wants to split it up. That's all up to him.
Yes.
But I think it'll be beneficial for him, even if things are running smoothly, just to have an extra head.
It'll be beneficial for us because, I don't know your long-term plans and I don't want to know your long-term plans at this time. But we need somebody that is being mentored. Let's face it, we have, like what we have now in way of a general manager. I think you're doing a lot of the things that I really like to see. But if you leave, then where are we? And if we don't have that person being built in-house, then we've just lost everything that, in my opinion, what we've gained. So.
Yeah. And I agree too.
I look forward to seeing what you come up with.
And if I didn't have some overlap time with Dan, when I came on board, it would have been a much more difficult assignment.
He probably had the wrong board president working with him too. I'm probably not the guy. Anyway, anything else on budgets?
Do you want to comment on that?
Anything else on budgets? Okay, huh? I was hard on him. I mean, I gave him lunch. Yeah, Bill, did you want to say something before we go home?
Yes, very quickly.
I can't believe you just said that.
I don't know if this is still alive or not, but Bill Norcross here. I see where you have a budget for roads and drainage, $1,330,000, okay? Now, I thought we had a contingency, an annual road deal of $350,000 for roads.
Yeah.
So now you're saying,
No.
I just want to let me finish my question. So anyhow, if it's 350,000 and $1 million for drainage, you just say to yourself, something has been increased or decreased. And where do you stand as far as, I think $1 million for drainage is a lot of money. So,
It's not $1 million. You're not, I'll show you.
well,
where
that's
it
what
is.
it says here. I'm reading that.
Okay, I'll go over it with you and show it to you. I will.
Yeah, we have 275.
You're not looking, you got the wrong numbers. It's only 300 for roads, 275 for drainage.
Well,
I don't know what you're looking at. But
Well,
I'll be
the,
happy to go over it with you.
yeah, the estimated actual is at $1,331,443.
That's for the whole total thing. It's not just for,
Yeah, I'm just
but
wondering.
you
if-
have to look at the sheet, Bill. It will
Just
explain it to you.
wondering if you decrease that $350
No.
annual
No.
road thing. Okay, fine.
We haven't changed the yearly roads or the yearly drainage at all. Same as the last, what, 3 or 4 years?
Yes.
Okay, Michael may have brought up the paint job for the front of the clubhouse and in the cot barn, which is an excellent idea. You brought up about 2 years ago, Chewy could do the front of the building, covering up that blue tile, and you had a budget of $25,000. And they have a budget of $15,000. So if we could save $10,000, I'm all for it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anything else anybody wants to bring up? I can't take that back. I just gabbled it. What's the matter?
That's just future meeting topics.
Oh. Meeting adjourned. I'd like to thank Kelly for everything. Good luck to you, my dear.
12:56, we're done.
Be careful. Texas is not a good state anymore.
We made your last day.
Did I get out by one? I got out by one. It's a miracle.
No kidding. Especially when we started.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.